we did,
That's important.
Yeah.
we ended at the part-time.
I was looking for the personnel policy. Sorry.
You have it?
No.
I had some notes like on bereavement leave, it's also on page 27.
Yeah, I've got
Usually-
Because it's on,
That's
so 27 would be the
I
part-time
thought I put it in my
benefits,
mailbox,
as opposed to
but I did
earlier
not.
would be full-time benefits.
So
So
yeah,
some of it's repetitious, but it's because it's in a different section, dealing with different employees.
and I have some notes just before we get to the part-time
Gotcha.
employees.
Yep. Here you go. I think this is pretty,
Anybody else?
I think this is, use that one, it's gonna be close enough. It's a new copy, I just don't know if
Where are we? Page
24.
Page 24?
So,
Call a meeting
you gotta call the
Oh,
meeting
yeah.
to
Can I make a comment?
It being 5:10 p.m., I call the select board's meeting to order. We are going into a work session to discuss the personnel policy changes,
and if there's comment or questions at the end.
and we will have comments and questions at the end of the work session. Thank you.
I have a comment on page 20, if we wanna go by page number. I don't know if anybody has anything earlier than that.
Well, we went, were you not here?
I was here, but I found a new comment.
Oh, okay.
Do you want to do that first?
It's just quick, so.
Okay, so let's do that, but then let's not go backwards any further. We can start over,
It's the only one I have.
yep.
Okay, so basically when the
What's that, where are you?
page 20, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th paragraph, employees are required to report absences.
Yep.
Mhm.
So basically, when you leave an organization, we have on a previous page that you get 100% of your payout for your vacation time earned.
Mm-hmm.
Here it says what happens if you are behaving incorrectly, but it doesn't say what happens if you're leaving normally to your vacation time. And to your sick time. And so what you want to do is say, what is the payout going to be for sick time? Like, do you pay 40%? Do you pay 60%?
Is that in the
I couldn't find it anywhere.
separation benefits? That's,
It might be.
let me look at,
That's on page 23.
I think that's for insurance, the separation benefits is for insurance.
For-
23,
This is 6 days.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I will make a note.
And we can do a survey. Typically, I was talking to Elaine, towns will have, if you have over 10 years experience, you get 75% payout. If you have under, you get 50% payout. There's some sort of graduated way
Okay.
of doing it, but you never get 100%. I was printing. Okay, all right,
Yep,
so that
got
was
it.
it.
I thought that, oh, you know why? I thought I had that note from Elaine already, because I thought that came up in our conversation, but
Maybe it did, I don't know.
I guess maybe I wrote it somewhere else. Okay, so 24 starts the part-time benefits. So this is a new section. Currently, our employees do not get, our part-time employees do not get benefits. And so we have different kinds of part-time employees. These benefits would only be for the permanent part-time employees. And I had given you the sheet with the positions that would fall under this category with what it would cost the town. So you can see that what it would cost the town for those 5 positions, which is the finance manager, the deputy tax clerk, the police clerk,
Assessing
and then
clerk.
we don't have the assessing clerk on here. Oh, maybe the deputy tax clerk should have been assessing?
No.
Well, this is the one you gave me that you and Elaine made. It has to be over 24 hours
Yeah.
a week.
And
So-
yeah.
Is she over 24 hours?
Well, now she's full-time, so, but when we hire somebody, you know,
The new part-time
I think
clerk.
it was
if that would
24.
happen.
You said over 24, I think she was 24.
20, yeah, that's what
Well,
I
this
thought
is-
she was 20 and 20.
24.
Oh,
We had
Okay,
to
well, this
move
is what you
to
gave
20.
me.
Yeah, yeah.
And Elaine said
You're
this is who is covered,
Yeah,
so that's what
she's
I'm
not
going on.
covered by-
Okay,
So, and then it's the 2 transfer station employees, not Glenn, obviously. So for those 5 positions, which are the ones that currently fit under the definition, permanent part-time employees who are working, that you'll look in the section and it splits, it shows you how many hours you have to work for, wait, I'm gonna put it.
I accidentally turned this. I'm sorry.
So that it would cost about $22,000 for these benefits for those 5 positions in total.
Per year.
But without
Per year.
the,
finance, deputy tax.
So that sheet that I gave you had 2 columns. One was with paid federal holidays, and one was without. When I met with Elaine and Keats, Elaine has a lot of background in how different towns work, and she said that she strongly suggested taking out the federal holidays because it's not enough of a distinction between being part-time and full-time.
what about the part-time positions, so at the fire department? If they're over, if there's somebody that happens to be over 24
It has to be
hours.
scheduled 24 hours a week. It can't be year-round.
Permanent
It's your
work.
permanent part-time. So if somebody happens to like rack up 48 hours on the fire department one week, doesn't matter, because it's not their regular schedule.
And maybe what we should do is just put a paragraph in that defines what a permanent part-time position
Also,
Okay,
is.
but
what about-
if you read it, I think it tells you.
What about the
Well, where?
town
More
clerk,
than
tax
10
collector,
hours.
assistant?
Doesn't work that many hours yet. These are the only,
When,
I would say rather than who work, who are scheduled.
Yeah.
geez, I'm drawing a blank, but
these are the ones that are regularly getting this. If we hire deputy clerk to the hours that Kim has suggested we might need, then that person could be added to that list. But
Okay.
right now, that person, it's split up between different people to kind of fill that one
So that's what the
position.
deputy clerk is, yeah. It's the assessing. Yeah,
Okay, not tax clerk, assessing clerk.
yeah.
And we've added this to try to retain or attract more employees, is that
So,
fair?
so we looked at what, I've quoted the towns that we've been looking at. And we also, Keats, through her town administrator listserv, just put out to people, hey, what are you doing? Is anybody now considering or adding benefits to permanent part-time people in order to attract and keep strong employees? And so we got a string of responses back, and it was everything from, you get an ice cream sundae twice a week, to quite significant benefits. And so ours are kind of like in the middle of that sort of thing.
Are now or would be.
Would be.
Yeah.
We don't have any
'Cause now
benefits
it's
now.
zero.
Now it's 0. Are proposed.
Up to twice the hours every week.
So if you look through the different sections, let me just go back a second, because I think that this answers Keith's question.
You mean about defining?
Defining the permanent part-time employees under our definitions section.
Oh,
And it
okay.
says, any
What
employee-
page are you on?
5. Any employee who has successfully completed the probationary period and is scheduled to work between 20 and 35 hours per week and whose hours are consistent year-round and ongoing. So it says consistent
Great,
year-round and
okay,
ongoing.
there it is, okay. Thank you.
Yep. So then, if you look at the breakdown of what is proposed, you can see that it's clear it builds on the definition, so it says you have to at least work this many hours to get this.
How does that rate of accrual, 24 hours a week, earning 40 hours vacation, how does that compare to a full-time? In terms of
It's
hours?
60%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Leanne,
Mm-hmm.
on page 25,
Mm-hmm.
in the, under sick or injury absence,
Yeah, we changed, so,
we changed it to 10 days, but I think it needs 10 hours. 10 days sick time for,
but it's accrues per period, the most you can ever accrue is 10 days.
right, and that's true, that is 20 days for a full-timer.
Mm-hmm.
The case has been made by Elaine that perhaps they shouldn't get any sick time, sort of for the same
Mm-hmm.
reason, you know, that it's too big a benefit,
Mm-hmm.
would be the argument.
I guess what I'm gonna argue
And that
is,
you have flexible time.
yep, what I'm gonna argue is, we have struggled to even get people to interview for our positions.
Mhm.
And I don't think we are the only town in, it's not because people don't wanna work in Tamworth, but, we've struggled to find people.
That being said, we can't make a permanent fix on a temporary help shortage.
Yeah, but
And
you know
the
what?
help shortage has only been the last few years.
But if you look at
This is a permanent fix forever.
no,
so
it's not,
how-
you can change the policy anytime you want, we're changing a whole bunch right now.
It's, okay. I don't agree with this. I don't agree that part-time help should get benefits. They
Okay.
took the job knowing they didn't have benefits. If they don't want the job, they can go somewhere else.
Okay,
So that's
Well, and
annual
they
sick,
may.
And if they do, that's my feeling. If you're part-time help, should not get benefits.
so I'm gonna argue back that we have positions in town that are essential positions, that if we can't fill them, like the assessing clerk, or
And
the tax
finance.
clerk, or what?
Finance.
Yeah.
Finance person, if we cannot fill those, we cannot effectively have volunteers step in and try to fill those roles. And it was and I mean no disrespect to people who stepped in and worked very hard to try to keep the wheels on the bus when we didn't have a finance clerk or when we haven't had people in the assessing office. But if you don't have skilled people doing that, it ends up costing the town so much more money when you have to go back and clean up messes. So I'm arguing that the positions that we have that don't quite warrant being full-time because of the size of our town are skilled professional positions that, and I would argue that skilled professionals deserve to be compensated in a variety of ways for their skill. But I also think that we need to attract them. And people who have, like historically, this country is aging out with the boomers in like full flight of retirement right now. And you're not getting people stepping into the same positions, which is part of the reason I don't think that this employee situation is a temporary thing. I think we are in a long-term trajectory.
If you want benefits, you take a full-time position. A lot of the part-time positions are filled by people that, for whatever reason, don't need benefits.
So do we have any kind of metrics on adding benefits solving this problem? Do we have other towns that have the same exact thing and they added part-time benefits and suddenly they were able to attract or retain employees more?
We don't have that
I haven't
data.
asked it that
So
way.
Yeah.
we're assuming that this would be an attractive offer to a part-time employee, right?
Assuming,
Okay.
more attractive at least.
Yeah.
And we're assuming that because so many towns are now doing this, that we're gonna be farther behind the pack if people can go to Madison or Ossipee or Meredith or Moultonborough and get benefits for the same part-time job.
So some people might want a part-time job and benefits. Some people might want a part-time job that pays a little better and no benefits. It's like per diem as nursing. Right? So could we put it as an option to be negotiated upon hiring if we know how much it's going to cost us to offer these benefits? Could we
Well, it's the same as the payout we have now for the full-time positions that don't, if you don't take your benefits right now, you get a cash
Go for
payout.
insurance.
It's a portion of what
You
your
get a
benefits
little
cost
bit,
us.
yeah.
Yeah, just
you
for
get-
insurance.
But if we're trying to attract and retain employees, some current, I don't know any of these employees' desires on this, but maybe they would rather have a pay raise instead of getting benefits. Great.
So you're saying look at what it would cost to give the tax collector, the tax
vacation.
assessor paid vacation, and say that this is the range that this position is worth, and it can either be a salary range or a salary and benefits range,
Right.
but this is the range that we're able to spend on that.
Right, as an option to try to attract.
I mean, basically, if you're trying to get paid vacation and you're paying $22 an hour for 24 hours, then it's 1 week of that, right? It's $528 to give somebody a paid week of their vacation, because it's 3 days is their paid vacation, right? Well, that's 1 week. I guess they're getting 5 days. So.
Yeah, because we're talking in days, not,
Yeah,
Weeks,
5
right.
days. It's actually 6 days, so it's double that. It's 1,000 per person.
Well, we're actually talking hours that accumulate to days.
Yeah,
right.
48
Yeah.
hours times $22.
Okay.
So that's $1,056 over the course of a year for somebody like Emily or Elaine or a skilled tax person. I mean, they are pretty high skilled jobs, they.
Yeah, if you look at those positions, those are important people here.
Mhm.
They're not just, they're not doing menial labor,
Anyway,
So I like the idea of being flexible and offering more money in lieu of, but I think we do need to define what it is and somehow put a provision in there of, could be negotiated cash instead of, but I
I
don't know
think
how
that
to
sets
word
you up
that.
for a
but-
pretty complicated set of issues, but I
Could
would
be.
just get benefits or not.
Mhm.
Logistically.
In a
to-
small town, I think yeah.
I mean, maybe. I don't.
And I do know that people like me, I'm working part-time right now. There's no way I would take a full-time job. I barely want to do the part-time job. And I think, older, experienced people, you can really attract them to do work and then then that's not going to work for them. And I think going forward, the population is older and older, and I think having some benefits, I don't know what they should be, will be very helpful. Because you open up a whole new pool of people, part-time people, skilled part-time people, not just somebody who's trying to cobble together a bunch of things because they have no skills. That's not the kind of people we want. Want somebody who's really good at something, but doesn't want to work more than 2-3 days a week. Which is exactly what, the town runs on that to a great extent.
My feeling is if we want to get the part-time people, we pay them more hourly. I don't feel that we should be giving part-time employees benefits. I think that's a full-time position deal. That's my opinion, whether it was a municipality, private business, anything. I don't believe these part-time employees that we have came here knowing what they were going to get paid hourly, knowing what the history's been of as far as giving COLAs or anything else. Or maybe they don't, as far as that goes, but they knew they didn't have benefits coming here. Now, certain ones have wanted benefits, and I don't feel we should give it to them.
I guess I'm less thinking about the current employees and more about the attracting new talent. But if the dollar figure is the same, what does it matter how it's delivered?
Linda has a note on here that says, when I was hired, there was a permanent part-time position with benefits, and I was not told or offered them. So what you're saying, Linda, is there's precedent for this? Towns aren't able to keep good, experienced people, Linda says. Yeah.
Do you
There's
feel like
other
it's
towns-
devaluing a full-time
No.
position by doing that? By offering benefits?
My feeling is just that part-time positions should not get full-time benefits.
Yeah.
Not that they're getting full-time benefits, but they're full-time positions get benefits, whether it's, in my experience, whether it's state, towns, or private.
So
And I understand that the help situation is tough. We've been having trouble finding help. But as a taxpayer, you got to draw the line somewhere as far as spending money. I mean, this town has been spending money like crazy.
Actually, our budget's much lower than last year.
And we'll see if we get through the end of the year without going over it.
So I think that the problem is that when we've talked, when we've been in hiring conversations, and a candidate has come before us and said, and like the job's been posted for $17 an hour or whatever, I'm just making up these numbers. And the person has said, well, I'll take the job for $25 an hour because that's what I made down the road. And the response was in our conversation afterwards, well, we can't hire this person at $25 an hour because Carl, who's been working for the town for 10 years, only makes $22 an hour. But he's full-time and he's got full-time benefits, you know, so I think that you get into that sticky thing that if we keep this idea that, and I understand, you wanna be respectful of the employees that we have, but it's a competitive world, and the town depends on some of these positions. I don't wanna ever have to sit in that finance office chair and write checks.
I mean, the other thing we could do is just give all the existing positions a $10 an hour raise across the board, and then we wouldn't have any trouble finding help for
That
more
would
money
cost
than
you a
what
lot more.
we wouldn't have any trouble finding help for more money,
I'm just reading
I mean, we
Linda's
could just offer
notes.
them whatever we want, yeah.
She says,
We wouldn't have to worry about that problem.
Linda just notes that it was there, presumably part-time benefits, was there and then disappeared. Part-timers previous to 2018 got benefits.
What were the benefits previous to 2018?
Do you want to turn your mic on, Linda?
I'm sure we could research it in the records. Easy enough, right?
Everyone on the
Sounds
phone.
easy
enough.
Not
I
easy
mean,
enough.
my feeling is, I'm not voting to support this. You guys have the vote to support this. I think we should move on from it. There's no reason to argue about it.
But I would say that like a $10 across the board raise would be.
I'm
much
being
more
sarcastic when I
expensive.
say that.
Yeah.
If we give everybody in town that's working, part-time or full-time, a $10 an hour raise, we will have no issue finding help from here on out.
Oh, sure.
You know, and paying them less than everybody existing. But unfortunately, with the increase in inflation the last few years, it's hard to find help and pay them less than the existing employees. I understand the battle that we're fighting as far as that goes.
Yeah.
I just don't think this is a
So,
permanent economy and a permanent help shortage. I think eventually something's gonna give, whether it's 1 year or 7 or 8 years down the road.
so let me
Okay.
ask you this. I hear what you're saying, and is there a way to look at this is just a proposal. So this is not like nothing's done. This is not an all or nothing. This is what Linda and I came up with, aggregating the information from the different towns. Like some of the towns were like way over here, and we said, well, we're never going to go there. Do you think that is there a way that you can look at, really what we're talking about here is a couple of things. We're talking about vacation time, paid vacation time, we're talking about sick time, and there are also some provisions for, like the bereavement, the period armed forces duty, the workers' comp, that's all, we don't have a choice on that anyway.
It's legally mandated.
Legally mandated. There's insurance, like added, that's part of it too. Some of it is just like offering people, some of what's added in here is offering people the opportunity just to pay with their own money to buy into the health plan, which is not a provision that's allowed to them right now. So they could have the benefit of the good insurance, they have to pay it all themselves, no buy-in from the town. So I think that if we look at it, there are parts here that maybe you could support that are benefits, which bring us up from 0 to something, even if maybe you can't support all of it because you think it's too drastic a change right now. So, you know, and maybe oh my God, I'm blanking on her name, Elaine's point about
Sick time.
not accruing sick time, that you can have it during the year, but you don't get to transfer it over, or whatever it is, like maybe these numbers don't
Well, I
have to be.
think her point was you don't get it at all,
Oh.
because they're part-time, they have the flexibility, so like, you know, if Elaine gets sick on Monday and Tuesday, she can make up for it the rest of the week, right, so.
Except the
he-
guys at the transfer station can't.
Except for the guys at the
Yeah.
transfer station, and we had that conversation.
Yeah.
They have a different scenario.
So,
Is
I mean,
there-
maybe you take out parts of this.
I mean, do we have to do things across the board, or can we just leave it up to the
Pick and choose.
select board discretion?
For benefits or?
For
just
benefits.
negotiation?
What do you
I
mean?
think you need to have some
I mean, negotiation
policy
again.
behind it. It doesn't have to be so specific, but if it gets too vague, then it's meaningless. So I think it's helpful to have a policy behind it that describes what we might negotiate at least.
When you say select board discretion, you mean,
As far as giving benefits to certain part-time and not other part-time, how
Oh.
bad do you need the position filled?
you probably could get into a case of being biased if you did that. You should have a policy.
Okay.
I think
Yeah,
that-
I don't,
I think
I'm-
one reason not to do that is because, at least in the time since I've been on the board, and we've done a lot of hiring in this like year and a half, one criticism that we've gotten is that we have negotiated individual contracts based on what people, like, we need that position filled. There was give and take conversation, and I think that it's not so much about the employee, but about the taxpayers understanding what their ultimate responsibility to their employees is, so that we can't just make it up and say, oh, we'll give you this, and then the taxpayers are stuck with it. When you have a policy, the taxpayers know the potential of what's coming.
And we didn't, not to be devil's advocate, but we didn't follow the policy anyway. So what's to say the future boards aren't gonna follow the policy as is?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah.
I think having more words in the policy makes it more likely you'll follow it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's not true, but I would hope it's true. Having more specificity I would hope, enhance us following it.
Mhm.
Two questions. You gathered some data from other towns. How easy would it be to go dredge that up and send it around as to what part-time employees get for benefits in other towns? Is that in a piece of paper or a table somewhere?
Oh,
I think I have
It's
it.
yeah, it's an email.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
well, it's a
Find it.
string of emails.
Yeah.
I'm curious, I
I'd
guess
like to look at that again.
that would be,
I want to see how well we're going to compete 6 months from now or a year from now when we need to hire a new Elaine or a new transfer station or whatever.
I'd like to see that, I'd also like to see the success rate of when this was implemented. Did the problems go away, were they able to
I think that
find
that's
help?
gonna be that's gonna be harder, because my sense from those responses we got from those town administrators was, everybody's kind of in our position right now, and everybody's starting to do this.
and
We can
My-
ask if they've got
Sure,
an
my-
exact.
face
My
of
point
labor
is,
shortage.
if everyone's also facing the same shortage, they made this change and it made no difference, then
Yeah,
so
Maybe we
that
should look
was,
You
somewhere
can't
else.
really measure that though, like.
yeah, that was the other thing I was thinking.
I
is-
get it, it's hard, but if we had a position
We
out
can ask them.
for a year, no one filled it, and we made this policy change, and 3 months later, was it because of the policy change? I don't know, you could
Yeah.
ask the employee, was this enticing to them? I mean, we do exit interviews.
Yeah.
What's Elaine's latest,
Linda's.
Linda's latest comment?
Well, let's see what it's-
Why wouldn't it be reasonable to hire 2 part-time employees for the price of 1 employee if they're willing to work? Do you mean, Linda, wait, okay, let's see.
Well, that way we wouldn't pay any benefits, a lot of people do that.
Okay, so wait, there's a bunch of
Hire
comments, hang on.
just part-timers and don't pay any benefits.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we need to do that either.
I'm taking with surrounding towns, they've all said that their part-time employees are the people keeping the towns operable. Yep, that's certainly true here. In talking with them, why wouldn't it be reasonable that you could hire 2 part-time employees for the price of 1 employee if they're willing to work?
You could, sure, you could.
You mean you mean
Like job
combine
sharing,
jobs, so, which is what Emily's doing right now. It's
No, to
gonna
make
kill
a
her,
full-time
but-
position.
Yeah,
That's it.
Or if you had a
that's-
full-time whatever, hire 2 people to each work a part-time job, theoretically you could do that, it's been done. It can be a pain for the employer, so you have 2 people you gotta deal with, instead of 1. But theoretically, it
So-
works. I don't see how that relates to
But
what
is
we're
that
talking
the
about.
argument,
Well,
I guess that's the
you have to pay
argument,
Part-timers
that's
benefits.
called, like,
Yeah.
trying to
You do have to
skirt
pay for
benefits.
full-timer. By Amazon.
I think
just-
that's
Well, I'm
right.
saying
I
it
think
that
she's
way,
saying
or is it a way
even
to
if
get
you
the
didn't-
benefits?
So you'd save money just from
Save
that.
money
That's
for
what
no
you're saying,
benefits.
Linda.
So my other point, I guess, was if, granted, the town of Tamworth is a drop in the bucket, but if everybody's trying to play catch up, like say there's 100 jobs open and there's 75 people to fill them, we can all put in our bid on getting the right employee, but we're never going to catch up to the bigger towns. I mean, they can always offer something better. They can always offer more money. We're just draining our taxpayers of, granted, again, $30,000 across the budget isn't the end of the world. I'm just saying, it's just one more thing. It's just.
I'm curious, from the spreadsheet you have, where is the biggest chunk of it, of the cost? Is it the vacation time or the sick time, or is it a little bit of everything?
Well, vacation time was 6 days. Sick time is listed as 10 days, which I think is an awful lot for.
So as it is presented, it's vacation time, so vacation time, and this is using the real pay rates that our current employees have.
Yep.
So it's not the same number across the board. But it's approximately 2 to 1. Insurance is twice as much as sick time.
So you're saying insurance is the biggest nut?
Insurance is the biggest.
I would be willing to say, and maybe this is incorrect, but that vacation time is easier to offer because it's not an above and beyond cost. I mean, granted, they're not getting those 2 weeks of work done, we'll say, but it's a budgeted, you've got 52 weeks budgeted for that employee.
You get a little less productivity for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
But over the course of the year, it's not a huge.
Yeah, the only time it actually, you have to write a check is when they leave.
Yeah.
So it is on your
okay,
balance
okay.
sheet as opposed
That's
to
the
your
one
operating
time.
budget, but
Okay.
But then you
That's
don't,
okay.
you don't offer them the ability to
And
cash
then
out.
my other question is, so with vacation time with a part-time employee, could they be using their vacation, so say they're working 3 days a week,
yeah.
could they use a vacation day, a fourth day? And still be working the full 52 weeks, but using their vacation as well?
I think they'd
for
have to-
six,
Does
for
anybody,
6 of the days that we.
like, say, okay, they work Monday through Wednesday, 52 weeks a year.
Oh, we pay them
But
for
they've got-
Thursday even though they don't show up?
Yes.
Huh,
Do you see what I'm saying there?
Oh, and
I
they
do.
never take a vacation.
Yes.
I hadn't thought of it.
What,
I figured they
I'm-
wouldn't work Wednesday,
but
we'd
it's
pay
only,
them, but
they
that's
only get
not.
6 days.
I'm
so-
just saying a bit of a clarification.
Huh.
Versus a full-time employee is working Monday through Friday, you can't take a vacation day on a Saturday or Sunday, I don't think.
I would assume they can't do that. They have to take a day off and we pay them for it.
Well, they can't do it 52 days because they only, like Keith
Only
said,
get
they only get 6 days.
Right. it's
So
20
theoretically, you could take
No,
it.
I'm not saying they do it every week, I'm just saying the 6
Right,
days
well,
that they have.
no, I don't think you could do that because you work 24 hours a week. You can
Okay.
then go up to 32.
Yeah,
No.
I'd say no. I'd
No.
say you got if you want a day off, take a day off.
If you're scheduled
Okay.
for 24, then one of those 8-hour days is a vacation.
That was
Yeah.
a question I had,
That's a
and,
good question.
I had something else and maybe I'll come back on that, but.
So, Leanne, you said that insurance is a fairly high cost, but I thought you said earlier that a part-time employee, they pay all of it. So
Oh,
No,
is that right?
they're
Options.
no, they're different options. So if you look
Oh,
at
okay.
insurance, the town,
27.
the town would pay 67.5%. It's changed from the 75 that you have there. Lane gave me the actual numbers. So if we're looking at page 27 right now.
Yeah.
So for insurance, the proposal is that the town would pay 67.5% of the premium for a town-sponsored single plan. So it doesn't matter if you have a family, we're not offering family plan, even if you have a family, we're offering 67.5% of a single plan for these people who are in the permanent part-time. But what I said was that if you're working, so we have that span for permanent part-time, right? It's like 20 to 34 hours or whatever.
Mhm.
If you're working 20 hours, at least 20 hours, you can get the dental plan by paying for it yourself.
Okay.
You could also upgrade your health plan beyond that 67.5, paying it all yourself.
Yep.
But that's all the town's committing.
So it was 75, you're proposing 67.5, and
Yeah.
that number came from where?
Elaine,
So it's a new proposal, it's not based on some,
it's based on that, that when Linda and I drafted this, we were looking at 100% payment by the town, by the employees, but they only pay 90%. The
Mhm.
town only pays 90% for them. And so we had to adjust that number down to reflect the 60%. So that's 60% of 90 instead of
I see.
100.
Gotcha.
I think that's what, is that what it was, Linda? I think, or Keats, I think that's what it
I
was.
think that's right.
Yeah. We just were working from the wrong number, or I was when I did the math.
So that insurance thing is for people who work 30 or more hours.
Yes.
So we
Right.
have precedent for that. Like, our transfer station employee who was also doing 1 day a week of,
And if you use 8, you
the
can
highway
work
department?
16 and 8 vacation.
That's
Oh,
the
yeah,
model
it's
for
just
that.
agreement.
So we did that up until he then became.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So it was at 32 at that point. See,
Yeah,
I
so-
always,
That's how he got up.
my
Right.
understanding, and we found out this to be incorrect, was any employee that worked 32 hours or more was a full-time employee.
Right, and it's 34.
Okay.
Is that a state?
I was always under the
That was,
impression.
that's what the attorney told us.
Okay.
Okay,
I
That
was-
was the number to use.
okay.
I'm pretty, let me just double check it.
34 hours is full-time.
Yeah, I was always under the impression it was 32, but
And
obviously I was
so
just
the
wrong.
30 hours or 32
Right.
that employee was working qualified him for 80%
Right.
health
So
insurance.
just to be clear about the insurance, so the employee that gets the 67.5% of their insurance paid has to be working an average of 30 hours or more.
Oh.
If you're working between 20 and 30, you can purchase it at your own expense, the health insurance. If you're working at least 20, any of them who is working at least 20, you can purchase dental at your own expense.
And if you're under 20, then you don't.
If you're under
that.
20, you're not a permanent part-time employee, so you don't have.
And so the total costs on this sheet is there's vacation, there's sick time, there's and health insurance options.
Yeah.
And
And so also, like what's built
Really
in
small.
here, what's built in here too on this, and you guys all have this somewhere, but it also factored in the max, so this is the maximum that we would pay. So it factors in for everybody that they take bereavement pay every year. It factors in for everybody that there's jury or armed services. It's factored in for everybody that there's workers' comp. So that 21,616 includes, we had to go for the like the worst case scenario. So like let me do the quick math.
Speaking about logistics, would the administrative overhead be anything worth thinking about with this? I mean, adding
I
5
spoke
We
with
talked
Elaine
a
about
little about
that. We're actually about to switch software, thank God, because it would really actually be difficult with the current one.
Okay.
We hope it will
Yeah.
be more manageable. I mean, everything.
How many
This-
times
the
have you heard,
current-
oh, it's got new software, it's hell.
I deliver new software for a job, I know exactly.
So how would you, let's say when you're hiring a new employee, you
Okay, so
have
I
to
just,
average 30 hours a week. I don't know how you determine that upon hire.
They're scheduling them. That's a scheduled job.
But
So like if,
it's part of it.
so you work at the transfer
they're
station.
scheduled to work an average of 30 hours. Okay.
Right, so you have 3 days at the transfer station and 1 day in the highway department.
Do we have
That's-
anybody that's,
At 30?
Like that, at
We
30?
did, we no longer do.
okay.
But we did up until last October.
Oh, so that was Rick.
Yeah, but I'm not
Okay,
naming anybody.
so,
I'll get in trouble.
Again?
Oh, yeah, he's trouble.
That's why I sit away from it. Didn't move.
okay, so the number, if we, the number without bereavement, armed services, or jury duty, and workers' comp, so if you take away those kind of unlikely things, the number for insurance and sick time for those 5 employees is $7,580.
So you subtract that from the 22.
Wait, so it's
No, that's the number,
Oh, that's the total.
$7,580.
for sick time
And insurance for those 5 employees.
and vacation?
Vacation and sick time.
Vacation.
Sorry, vacation, what? We don't have insurance on this. Oh, because none of them qualified for insurance, because none of them's 30 hours.
Right.
That's why.
Okay.
So
That's
this
vacation and sick time.
vacation and sick time for those 5 employees with their current job descriptions is $7,580.
Oh, so they wouldn't qualify for,
The ones we
None
presently
of
have
these
don't.
don't, because they don't meet the 30-hour-a-week
Threshold.
threshold.
so we would just do insurance for people 30 hours.
Yeah.
Right.
Which we currently have
Okay.
no one in that bucket.
In that bucket.
And is there any limitation as to why these employees, and I wouldn't say, well, geez, I wanna get up to 30 hours? or-
Well, the select board would
Because
have
we
to vote on
wouldn't,
it.
we wouldn't
They'd have
give
to
them-
convince
yeah.
us.
It's not budgeted. So the only thing they're,
And their department heads couldn't allow them to just start working more
no,
without our approval.
they don't
Right.
have, it has to be appropriated.
Yeah.
So this
So-
applies to no one in town currently if we adopted it.
Just
then
sick
the
time,
insurance
just
part.
sick time and
Right.
vacation.
The insurance, yeah.
Oh,
But we're looking
Didn't
ahead in
realize that.
case.
Yeah, I didn't realize that either.
So it's 7,000
Print's too small. on
across the
this.
board for those 5 employees to get health insurance and sick time. Not, I'm sorry, vacation
Sick time,
time and sick
Vacation
time.
and sick.
Yes.
see, and I feel sick time and vacation, but not health insurance or dental, none of that, until 30 hours.
Unless they
Right.
work 30 hours, yeah.
They have the option to pay for it themselves, which is
Which is might be a
Which
good
is-
deal because they can get a better rate than if they go
right.
out on the
They can buy into a good
It's the
policy
pool.
at our rate, so that's their benefit that they're allowed to access it, but they have to pay for it
And it
all.
might be really important for them.
Yeah. And if you don't have to navigate the
Yeah.
health network,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's a benefit in and of itself.
I still think it'd be worth understanding if the admin overhead's
Yep.
gonna be prohibitive.
Elaine said no.
No.
Okay.
It's-
Yeah, we asked her, she said no, she, if I'm remembering correctly,
This is a public meeting, so you're welcome to
the
sit.
carryover of the insurance, of the sick days, she said that was, we actually took part of it out because she was saying that there was the challenge, because wasn't it the sick
It was
day
the
accrual?
holidays. No, it was, no, sick day accrual is okay.
Okay, yeah, but she was part of the conversation and was fine with it. So, what I'm gonna propose is this. To answer some of the questions that got brought up, we'll go back to the administrators, throw that question out one more time about benefits to see if anybody else adds to the list.
And I think a spreadsheet somewhere.
Yeah, I've got it, you emailed it to me, I have it. And then we'll also ask if anybody has seen any kind of difference in their ability to attract a different caliber of employee or candidate or more. Since they've made those changes.
Right.
And we'll bring that back. And
Keats, I'm sorry, I still can't read her
Oh,
comments.
let's
I
see.
purchased Aflac through town.
Let's see.
Oh.
24, okay, now that's 20 hours or more per week.
He's eligible for benefits.
Not sure what, okay.
Down at the bottom there.
Is eligible for benefits and leave in other towns. I purchased Affleck through to the,
Through the town.
okay, go away smiley face, through the town, okay.
I think it's what it said.
I mean, we offer Affleck,
Well, that sounds bad.
For TO.
I can't,
Give her a smiley face, maybe it goes away.
okay, get a smiley face. Thumbs up.
Still didn't,
Okay, through the
Hey,
town.
look at that.
I purchased Affleck through the town. Affleck, right, so
Right.
Affleck has a whole series of policies.
Yeah.
Right, that was offered.
And we offer that, yeah. I mean, maybe there's, I don't know.
I wonder what other benefits people would be interested in.
Sorry, I can't get my volume to work. Okay. Understood. And
I
then
think we're
also-
getting close.
And one thing, Leanne, that when this version with all the different comments we've made gets updated,
Yep,
maybe, I wonder if you and Elaine and I should just do another read through for any little, like I found that thing that, how
Yeah.
much
But we still have to go through, we've gotta finish this, and then we still have, we've got 5 pages left to go through. So we definitely need one more work session at
Yeah.
least. Then we'll clean up the document to a second draft that we can go through again, still digest. I don't think we're close to voting on anything yet.
We've made progress.
We may, yeah, absolutely,
That's
but,
all the conversation we needed to have.
yeah, so, we should look at, I would, I know it's,
I wish I would've done the 30-hour thing.
Yeah.
I know, I'm sorry. So,
That was helpful.
We do have a short meeting scheduled for next week, we can add it to that.
except, I'm gonna say, I don't have time to go through this with
And I
camp
won't
right
be
now.
here next week.
So
Okay.
if we could make the next, let me just look at my calendar, the next work session. The real thing is that if we pass any changes in the policy at all that have a budgetary impact, we can't put anything into effect until the next budget cycle anyway. So, as much as it'd be nice to have things updated, we've got some time still, so I would love it because of my work schedule right now, if we could add the next work session to the September 7th meeting. That'll get me through camp. And that, so that I can get you feedback, and that gives us time to get feedback from the other towns too.
And I can also make this more multi-column so you can see the different ways it,
That would be great.
Larger font.
So you wanna start at 5 on the 7th, September 7th?
5 o'clock would be great. Can we do a 5 o'clock work session on the 7th?
I won't be there, but I will read it.
August, jeez, I'm
No,
sorry.
September.
September.
And I will,
Wait, September actually?
September.
I'll send my comments
I don't schedule
around
that
or
far,
to Keats
sorry.
before the meeting.
That would be
So
great.
you
Do you
can
want
make
us to do it when you're here, or do you feel comfortable doing that at
No,
this
it's
point?
fine.
Okay,
I looked at the Rex's document and I have no comments on it.
okay,
I'm away for a couple of weeks starting on September 7th.
okay. Okay, that would be great. Thank you, Linda.
okay,
Okay. Good.
work session's over.
Work
All right, we're coming out of the work session and going into a 5-minute recess.
5:55.
It being close enough to 6 o'clock, we're gonna come back into the meeting and changes or additions to the agenda.
Yeah, I need to add an additional accounts payable manifest for $462 and economic development committee appointments. Other than that, oh, and we wanted to add a non-public at the end of the meeting. It'll be a session 3 and it will be
E.
E.
We're gonna move on to new business, with the Lakes Region Planning Commission, hazardous waste management discussion with David Jeffers.
Hi,
Howdy.
I'm Dave Jeffers. I'm with Lakes Region Planning Commission. And LRPC works on a variety of topics, as some of you know. If you don't, have a little bit of info with us. And on land use, transportation, hazard mitigation, economic development planning. One of the roles that I have is coordinating the annual household hazardous waste collections. And I see that you have great material out front, and your website is wonderful. Got new coordinators and active, and we appreciate that very much. And Tamworth has always been fairly involved. We've had some changes over the past year. Changes are going to happen, but this year, the way the household hazardous waste collection works is that there are 24 communities that in the Lakes region that participate, pool their resources together, and work with us and we do contracting with a vendor. And we set up the contract to bring them in to collect waste up to 10 gallons per household of household hazardous waste. And we have a variety of sites set up. Typically, we have had 4 sites open on the last Saturday in July, coming up on the 29th, and the first Saturday in August. And we're continuing that pattern, and folks can bring their waste in. Communities have already paid for the participation based on the number of households and the proportion, and we've been very fortunate to have basically a fixed fee collection, and residents don't have to pay anything as they're coming in. And we're moving forward with that. This year we had one site, Ossipee chose to withdraw from being a host site. They're still participating. And, you know, communities can still participate, and there is a site in Meredith, at Meredith Neck, that will be open next Saturday, and that's probably the closest. But if somebody can't make it, somebody from Tamworth can't make it that day, they can go this weekend, say to Meredith. And
Actually, Dave, Molten Borough's the closest
Oh.
for Tamworth,
Molten Borough, I'm sorry.
so on August 5th is our closest
Yeah,
site.
but if you can't go on,
Right.
if you know, you're gonna be out of the country or something like that, you can go to any one of the other sites. We recognize that what we're looking to do is we are considering and have been talking about possible alternate sites, maybe for a collection this fall, and our vendor is agreeable to doing something in the fall, perhaps, and without a change in cost, within limits, and also for years beyond, for next year and possibly beyond. And part of the reason for the what we were told about the wanting to change is thinking, well, this is something that should be shared by other communities. They were devoting some of their staff time. This can run on with all volunteers. Some communities choose to pay workers to work at this event. The only working at the event by local community folks is doing a quick survey of each vehicle and traffic control. If a community wants to pour off waste oil and it's convenient for them to do, they may do that. Not every community wants to pour off the waste oil and then manage it. So my hope is to just have some idea, brainstorm some ideas. Ellen and Maud have brainstormed some about potential sites that might be appropriate in Tamworth. We need pavement. It needs to be able to be accessible in terms of people driving in, and we might have 25 cars in line. Typically, we get upwards of 200 to 250 vehicles in a 3.5-hour period. So there may be some waiting in line, but basically that works out to a car a minute coming through. And the vendor, in this case Tredebi Environmental, they send a crew of about 8 to set up all the plastic sheeting that they're operating on, and all their drums and that sort of thing. They unload, they take ownership of the waste, and they package, manifest, and all the billing comes through between them and us. The responsibilities of the community, the site needs to have, as I mentioned, the pavement, the ability to hold the cars as they come through, and not have them backed up onto a road. And there does, a dumpster needs to be made available so that any packaging that is, people bring 6 cans of paint and it's in a cardboard box or something like that, and they don't want it back, that gets tossed. And there needs to be some restroom facilities just for the staff who are working, the people who are working there. So I was hoping that we could talk about a few ideas and get your impressions, your feedback, and we don't want to approach any. We want to do it in conjunction with you. We work for you, the communities of the Lakes region, so some ideas that have already been. One idea that was broached was possibly the elementary school. There are some pros and cons of that. And another idea that was broached was the possibility of club motorsports. Now that's getting into private, and I recognize that there may be some issues there. I don't know if there are. Like to get your thoughts, and I don't know if you had thought of anything else.
Can I just ask a question?
Yes.
I'm lost a little bit. So are you asking us to host a household hazardous waste day this fall? Is that what the ask is?
The possibility is.
Okay.
The possibility is.
Okay. And is that because Ossipee has decided to take a break from hosting, just to get another town in this region?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. Another opportunity. I mean, right now, yes, communities could, anyway from Freedom or Effingham or Ossipee, Tuftonboro, those are the ones, and Tamworth are typically the communities that go to the Ossipee area. I'm talking I've had conversations with Tuftonboro about possible sites. I've talked about, and there was a suggestion that I talked with the Carroll County Complex, and we had a discussion. There are some issues with pavement there, so they declined for this year to do that. By the way, our company, the company is fully insured, $10 million,
Okay, I just wanted,
Yep.
I was
Yep,
waiting to
I'm
see
sorry.
where we were going with it, so. Okay, Ellen, you were gonna say something?
I was gonna say, I thought the Carroll County Complex was a great idea too.
Yeah.
And it's sort of in that Ossipee region, so that was what jumped into my mind when we were first looking. And Dave, I have a question.
Yep.
Would this be taking the universal waste or just the hazardous waste?
No.
Okay.
This year we have decided there was there are a couple of reasons that we're not taking universal waste this year, which is waste that is rechargeable batteries, fluorescent light bulbs, including compact fluorescents, and mercury-containing devices like thermometers or thermostats. They actually can be taken year-round by communities, and most of the communities in the Lakes region do take them.
I think Tamworth's the only one that doesn't.
I was gonna say,
Tamworth is the one that's a problem.
Laconia doesn't either.
Yeah.
And we're working with, we've got some resources for individuals as well as communities, and we're happy to work with communities in terms of either finding alternates. There are a number of vendors. There is a state contract that communities can use on that, but they're not being taken this year, and very likely not in the future associated with this HHW contract.
It's just hard to think of sites in Tamworth that have sufficient pavement where you can line up 10, 20, 30 cars or
Indeed.
more.
Yeah.
Certainly any private entity that wants to host it, that would be fine, but we'd have nothing to say about it.
Well, I know, and it was suggested that Club Owner Sports might be a place. It does have plenty, it does meet a number of those, but we really didn't want to go there without talking with you about that.
but that contract, let's say that, and I have no idea if they'd be interested, but let's say a private entity like Club Owner Sports that fit the criteria was willing to host this day.
Yeah.
Does that then become an agreement between LRPC and the entity? Is there any municipal involvement in that?
No.
Okay.
Other than your residents,
Right.
your
Education.
residents,
Right.
or what, it would work the same way. We would put them in as, under their insurance as and also insured, in terms of liability. And usually, I mean, they have all their protective materials and that sort of thing anyway, but just in case type of thing.
I think anywhere in Tamworth would be fine with us, I assume, because then more people in Tamworth are more inclined to use it. I know
Yeah.
when I participated, I was felt silly driving to Ospey when I said, why can't we have it here? Well,
Yeah.
if the site needs to be paved, you need a lot of room for cars to queue up, that's a real limiting factor. But I would assume we would support any site in Tamworth. I can only think of the Brett School is the only place that you might have room to queue up the cars.
Yeah, and on my way over here, I mean, we looked at an aerial photograph. It wouldn't be the absolute best, but it would be, it could do the job. We would need to get permission through the SAU, and for example, in Bristol, we're holding it at the Newfound Regional High School, and that has worked, and we've gone through their permission and have them as an also insured. We did, back in 2020, when the pandemic hit and some of our communities withdrew, and Ossipee was one that did withdraw from complete involvement at that time, and actually also Tamworth did too. And we gave communities the opportunity to do that, and our vendor worked with us on the contract. But Effingham stepped up and they said, hey, we'd really like to give the opportunity we held it at the Effingham Elementary School, and that worked. And they gave us permission to do that, and we went through the SAU. This time, we went through the SAU, and for some reason, they said, not this time, no.
And why was there hesitation about the Brett School? It sounded like when you mentioned that there were some limiting factors.
Just a
the traffic.
little gun shy about the you know, some communities have a problem with having it at a school. But that may or may not be the case. As I said, over in Bristol, we don't have a problem, and they do handle buses all the time, and so they've handle the traffic.
And it's on a weekend.
No, it's not a weekend, but in this particular case, the weekend that would be most available would be the Columbus Day weekend, and I don't know if other things might be going on.
If it was it's always a weekend?
We've always done it on a
And
weekend,
if it was a
on
Friday,
Saturday.
you could use the transfer station.
There's not enough
There's no
pavement, no
pavement
pavement.
to speak of.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
If you approach Club Motorsports, they might want it to be on a Sunday, that's a day they don't run.
Oh.
So
It would have to be a Sunday morning.
Exactly, would that be
Okay.
something that could maybe,
We'd have to talk with our vendor, but quite possibly we could make
Yeah.
that work.
Yeah.
I know that we've talked about the possibility of, okay, could we do it like on a Friday afternoon, if it were at a transfer station that operates on the weekend, and there would be any problems with that. We've had some of that conversation with another community. And we're trying different, we're having to think a little bit outside the box to try and serve folks serve communities as best we can.
I mean, the Brett School drop off and pickup, there are 25 cars in there in the lot, and the way that they weave things around, I mean, I think that that's a doable site if there's not something bigger that could accommodate more. I mean, 25 would be maxing you out, I think, and you'd have to start on this end and wend your way through to get that many cars off the road, but.
I know that our representative is familiar with the Brett School, having just visited the area and that sort of thing. So it might work if that's something that you might want us to consider pursuing.
I don't know that we
I
have
don't
any other
think-
municipal,
Yeah, as far as
Property.
town properties, I don't
Yeah.
really know if there's another option. As far as private properties, I guess, could reach out to who you wanted, and
trying to think about,
but that's pretty. I think the Brett School is about the only.
Yeah.
I mean,
paved.
other than that, it's like the townhouse, which isn't big enough, and the town office here, which isn't big enough, and then the little piece of pavement we get at the transfer station.
Right.
So,
Right.
Yeah.
kind of limited.
we check our phones.
Yes.
All right.
So I'd say continue to work with Ellen and Maud with the Tamworth Recycling Project to get some other ideas, but you've come up with the only two that we've thought of.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, but it would be, by your estimation, it would be okay for us to pursue either the Brett School through the SAU or the Club Motorsports?
well, we don't have jurisdiction over either,
Right. But in
sure.
pursuing them, we didn't want to cross lines.
Yeah,
We wanted
yeah,
to talk with you
yeah.
first.
And is there cost to the town for hosting this? Or to the SAU or to the entity that hosts it? Other than
Most of the time, we ask the community to arrange for the dumpster,
Oh, okay.
which is usually a $350 sort of setup. And if there's, but that can be arranged. If that's the only obstacle, we can make that happen.
Okay.
And we can work around that. And, and you've got some good volunteers. We would want to be working with whoever the facilities manager type person is. And they're usually a paid person. And, for whatever cost that is. but you don't have to supply staff. You know, and it usually takes about half a dozen people to make it run, unless you want to collect waste oil or something like that.
Okay.
Keep us posted.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Very good.
Okay,
Thank you for
thank you
coming in
very
tonight.
much.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to the welfare report with Kathy Graham.
I'm gonna sit up here so you can see. All right, so I provided you with an update, I think you read through that, good. I'll just go through the main components. So our budget, year-to-date is at $22,375. Kind of telling is 46% of that, or 10,200, is for housing the homeless in hotel stays. So that housing crisis has hit us. It's hitting every municipality throughout the state. City of Lebanon is at 105,000 over their welfare housing budget year-to-date. It's just tough out there. I don't see that changing anytime soon. I think our budget would be 12,000 in expenses year-to-date if it weren't for that.
Can you just, for the record, I know you put this in the report for us, but can you just remind the viewing audience or everybody else about the RSA that requires that we provide these services?
Yeah, so this is an unfunded mandate to every municipality in the state. It's RSA 165. And you're bound to house and keep your residents warm, basically, with power. And you can't pick and choose who you want to do that for. You can really only deny clients if you hand them 3 possibilities, let's say for housing that you have, and they deny all of them, then you can issue a denial. Otherwise, you have to, you are under obligation to provide them with whatever resource they need. Is
And
that
because
okay?
Carroll County is the only county in the state with no homeless shelter,
No homeless shelter.
we're resorting to motels because that's at cost, at market rate,
Correct.
right?
Priceline helps. You know, we
Yeah.
can kind of go in the back door and use Priceline to get that cost down. We've come up with some creative solutions. I work with a lot of agencies in the North Country and around the state to try to get that off the taxpayers' back. There have been so many agencies who have been wonderful in helping us pay for things, so we don't have to, you don't have to. Yeah, it's, unfortunately, we're in a tourist economy, and so in the winter, these hotels are happy to house the homeless, and come Memorial Day, they start to jack up their prices, you can't blame them. They want to get those tourists in and.
Went from $79 to $200 a night.
And the federal money ran out back in March.
It did, April 1st, that was all the rental assistance was done. The state did put it back in the budget. I was hoping that some of that would come back to municipalities and reimburse us for what we had to spend. It is not, it is just going to be rental subsidies again, and that has not yet been released. And I'm guessing CAP will oversee that again, I'm not sure.
And a member of the public just typed in Tri-County Cap, and you work with them when possible.
Oh yeah, that's the first question, have you applied to Tri-County CAP? And when they have funds, we see fewer people. They had a hard time last year, and HPR ran a story on some of the issues that CAP had in dispersing funds. I think they listened, and hopefully they're gonna up their employee count and hopefully make that application a little easier for folks.
And isn't part of the problem too that there isn't housing to be had for any
No.
price at all? So if someone's unhoused for whatever reason,
Exactly, and I don't have anything in my
Right.
toolkit to help. So, New Hampshire Housing Finance Authority, they do a great job of updating their website on available rentals. Subsidized housing, 12 to 24 month waiting list around the state. That's it. There's nothing available that is subsidized. But New Hampshire Housing Finance Authority, if under Carroll County, one just opened up in Wolf Grove, but normally there's nothing under
You mean
Carroll
one
County.
apartment?
Correct,
That's
Usually there's
in
nothing.
Carroll County.
correct.
Wow.
And average rent in the state is $17.50 for a two-bedroom.
Yeah, it's just unreachable.
So I'm guessing we've under budgeted, based on the housing needs that we have for this year.
And, you know, thankfully, or not thankfully, this is a budget that the Department of Revenue will allow to go over because
You have to.
we can never anticipate what's gonna come our way. But
And we're not allowed to say no, even if we wanted to. Well, you've done exceptional work, and I know that your stipend is tiny, and you are putting in 5, 10, 15 hours a week for a job that should have been maybe 5 hours a month, we thought, but, so thank you for that. And, I mean, I think that it should be stated that you spend those hours trying to find ways to support people to have their needs met without relying on Tamworth taxpayers to pay the costs. And you're accessing every possible agency that there is. So that's, I'm grateful that you're putting that time in and you've developed that network.
yeah, Keith and I have come up with very creative solutions for some of these clients, so she's been invaluable as well. So my time with you was supposed to be up in August. No, but I'm happy to go through the end of the year. I think it's unrealistic to think that you could put an ad in the paper and find a welfare administrator for $1,000 for the rest of the year. So I think it's worth looking at other towns to see what they pay their welfare administrator. Call Madison and Freedom and all of the local smaller towns that fall within your demographic and see what they're paying and maybe up your budget accordingly in your next budget season, so.
And I wonder if we shouldn't be posting sooner than later so that
Yeah.
do find somebody you can train them.
I'm happy to train, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
I think that was the idea, but now it's August. So,
So
we'll do
when
that.
would we anticipate going over budget?
Next week.
Tomorrow?
Yeah, I had 3 clients today, 2 of whom are new.
Okay.
Haven't spent any money yet, but 2 are homeless.
How much, what's the,
We've
How
only
much
got a
money?
couple thousand left.
couple thousand?
Yeah, exactly. You've got
Was 20?
26, 25 left.
Theoretically.
So do we need to do
It's actually
reallocations?
less than that, because I
Yeah.
had to, yeah.
Where do we have money that?
So, well, I guess the bad news or the good news, in the ambulance budget, yours truly misread the year. I thought we were in year 3, but we were year 4 of the contract. Year 3 was 16,000 more, so I budgeted the higher number. So we have $16,000 available in the ambulance contract. My recommendation would be to transfer 10,000 to the welfare budget. I'm not even sure the way things are going. I hope that's enough, but that money is available.
Okay. Do we have the line for
Yes, and I should have written it down beforehand, but I will give it to you right now.
How many people are Tamworth residents are we housing right now?
Or have we in the past 6 months
There's
too,
one.
as a follow-up to that?
Yeah,
One right now that I know of.
right.
And you've got 3 new clients today
Okay, so.
Right, 2 of whom are.
looking for help.
But Take the Village, there's some great people who, you know, it's word of mouth, we're not using names, but they're finding places,
Yeah.
which is great.
Yeah.
Good small town stuff.
2, there's.
So I'll make a motion, I don't need line item numbers for that. I don't
Yeah,
think.
it's, hang on, I'm just looking for the welfare
It's
budget.
gotta
think
come-
we-
It's gotta come
we did.
from the line.
That's why I was waiting.
Yeah, no, and I should have looked it up first, because when I look, where's the welfare budget? Grants, wages, insurance, finance. General assistance, that's why. Okay, so it is from the ambulance line, which is 4215.10-351, to the welfare budget, which is The general assistance line is 4440.10-811.
I make a motion to transfer $10,000 from the ambulance budget 4215.10-35 to general assistance, line item 4440.10-811.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Can you do that locally, legally?
Yes, I spoke with the Department of Revenue.
Thank
Just
you.
asking the question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Did you say yes?
Barry, yes?
Schaefer, yes?
Prentice, yes.
Roberts, yes. 5 yes, 0 no. Thank you. Do you have anything else to share with us tonight? Do we have any questions for Karen while she's in?
No, we're gonna do some research and start posting an ad.
Yeah.
Thanks for the work you do.
Oh my God, yes.
Unless you want to continue on next year.
Kath, could you just like shoot us a average, like if you had to average out what you think a reasonable number of hours per week to anticipate
Sure.
would be, because I know that what you're doing is not what we hired you to do, you know? You've gone way above and beyond, but we should be realistic,
Yeah,
bringing somebody else in.
yeah, for the ad, absolutely.
Yeah. Thanks.
Good to see you.
All right. Moving on to the recreation department discussion.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Been busy. So yeah, I want to update you guys on kind of where we're at with the rec department. It's been full on with swim lessons, Friday field trips, coordinating what I can, when I can with pickleball. And the reality is I want to be doing more. But as you know, this was an interim position designed for 6 months. I think I started back in May, and the idea was to do 20 hours of rec, 20 hours of the assessing clerk job, and the reality is it's been like 50 hours of rec, and I'm starting to worry that number one, I'm losing my mind, but number two, the assessing clerk position really doesn't have much room for error. Like, you need to be really detail-oriented, organized person, and I don't feel that way right now.
I just want to say that you're doing the job really well.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, so just be clear.
Well, I
The work's getting
appreciate it. But I am waking up at 1:30 thinking,
Yeah.
did I process that intent to cut, or did I email that parent about packing their kid's lunch tomorrow? Like, it's two totally different directions,
Yeah.
and I'm starting to feel the strain. So I'm requesting, and I have actually had a couple of parents ask me too, the parents who are paying attention, knowing that this was an interim position, asking if my intention was to go full-time rec, and that is my request. It kind of breaks my heart because I actually love the assessing clerk position, and if I could clone myself, I would want to do both. But my heart, I think, is in the rec department, and I'd really like to see more out of that department.
So do you think, I mean, because I think that the interim position, the part-time interim position ran through October. Do you think we need to make a move sooner to save your sanity and to get the benefit of?
I think so, because I would like to put our feelers out there and see who we hopefully can get, and have time to train somebody. And also, I mean, I really should be right now focusing on fall sports, and I haven't even had a moment to. So I feel like the sooner we can find somebody, the better.
Okay.
I think we need to post them both.
Post
Because
them
you're,
both.
She's gonna do full-time.
well,
But we
it has
have to hire
has
her
to be
for that.
posted.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh.
legally we need
So I
to.
think we need
Yeah.
to post them both right
Oh
away.
God, I hope a better rec director doesn't come along. Yeah, that's a good
Well, the good
point.
news, the personnel policy says that if all things are equal and all candidates are equally qualified,
Yeah.
Hire in-house.
we hire in-house.
Good. If not, can I just like scooch back into the assessing position?
I'm sure you could compete very well for that position.
Okay.
You've had a
Both
good
of them.
audition.
Yeah.
Also, one of the things we discussed is that if Emily were to get the position of full-time rec director, she could spend the first few weeks, 10 hours or 8 hours or whatever, training the new person. So it could be a very smooth transition,
Right.
which would be great.
Yeah.
It's a hard job to learn when you're there's nobody to
Thrown
train you.
into it, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah. So.
Well, the
Alright.
rec program's amazing,
Yeah.
that, you know, all the buzz is great, and you're reaching out to lots of different demographics and age groups, and
Oh, thank you.
so,
So should we put both those jobs out there?
Yeah.
yep,
Yep.
I think
They
so.
have to.
Okay.
Okay, so do we need a motion to do that, or?
I
think so.
don't think so.
Okay,
Alright,
so we will post both jobs and,
Yeah.
may the best candidate win.
All right, thank you.
And we're just gonna post them at the current budgeted salaries
Yeah.
and job descriptions, right?
Mhm.
Not changing any of that, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, then we
Yeah.
don't need a motion.
And I do, while I'm on that discussion and kind of segue into the next thing on the agenda item, is to I'm so thankful for the Brett School. Mel, the principal over there, worked hard on getting the field trips that I had planned this summer. Some Title I funds were able to cover some of the 3 out of the 6 field trips that were considered educational.
Oh,
So
great.
that definitely helped my bottom line because the budget is getting tighter and tighter. But yeah, so if you're ready to move on to the next agenda item, I have Kent here with me today to talk about the Tamworth Summer Enrichment Program. Hence why I need more than 20 hours. So this is the packet I meant to give you guys earlier.
Thank you.
Sure. So this just kind of outlines what our plan is, our hopes and our dreams for the Tamworth kids for the last 2 weeks of summer. But with the idea that next year this will be a bigger and better program. Pete, do you want me to?
yeah, please.
And I have some extras if anybody else wants to take a look. But the idea is to collaborate with a lot of our nonprofits in town. I was amazed at how many organizations we were able to get to step up to the plate and help us out, whether it was for one afternoon or a whole day or whatever they could do. So while my field trips this summer really got the kids out of Tamworth, the idea of this is to have kids learning about their town using our local resources. I plan on doing some sports with kids to get them geared up for sports this fall, and also focusing on some literacy and getting them, reminding them that school is coming up. So,
Great start.
okay, there we go, Ken. I'm kicking it off to you because my brain's fried.
Brett. Evening, folks. Hi, Ken Hemingway, live up on Great Hill Road. Steve, I think you're the first one I need to meet.
Yep.
I've been working with Emily and Mel to try to pull something together here when we realized the last couple of weeks of August were without opportunities for kids this summer. The Tamworth Summer Enrichment Program, we brought back the name that has been part of Tamworth history for a long, long time. Just got to throw in one old guy thing, because 2 people I've talked to, one former participant, just today, 2 people I've talked to today, one former participant in the Tamworth Summer Enrichment Program, and another who's a parent of a child, remembering Percy Olton taking the kids up Mount Chicoro. See, only the old people in the room. I think
Taught me how to drive a bus.
I think I'm becoming Percy Olton. So, my purpose is to volunteer to make this happen for our kids in our community again. And we've had some great collaboration. This is a great collaboration between the town and the school. This is led by the Tamworth School District, because the primary funding is coming from our school district funds, and primarily there, the Title I funding, which is a federal program that is allocated to our community based on a statewide grant. And some of those funds have been left unspent in recent time. So that gave us a little bit of motivation to get things going. I'll get to the budget more in a little bit. So we're looking at about no more than 40 kids for the last 2 weeks of August. Monday to Friday, 8 to 4, based at the Brett School, and working our way around town with a pretty significant program. Daily academic instruction, a part of it, part of the requirements, Title I. Christina Troon, our kindergarten teacher, is signed on for the first week as our Title I teacher, which is one of the requirements we have. Emily and myself, it looks like Alex Bradford, one of the aides at school, is going to sign on as one of our assistants. And we've got a whole bunch of folks I'll get to in the community who are going to add some activities and some real substance to this. One of the recreation activities that got me going with this is a program I'm deeply involved with called Advantage Kids. It's a statewide nonprofit that works with about 1,000 kids across New Hampshire. I am the area director for Mount Washington Valley for the past 3 years, and I do Tamworth, Madison, up through Conway and Jackson. And we've had about 50 Tamworth kids involved in our program over the last 2 years here. But I wasn't able to get my kids signed up this summer because all we were able to offer is an hour and a half during the day, and parents couldn't get kids back and forth and put them there. So just kind of said, well, I want my kids, and we've got to find a way to bring them together. So it's one of the activities we're offering here, but I won't go on further with that unless you want to get more. Music and arts are an important part of this. And I guess that really gets right to our community partners. We've contacted the Arts Council, the Cook Library, the Barnstoners Theater, the History Center, Carroll County 4-H, the Remick Farm, State Park, and the Chicago Conservancy, who have all signed on to bring their people to work with us in these 2 weeks. The biggest challenge we're going to have is finding time for them all now and making them fit in. It's really pretty cool, and I made some phone calls and knocked on some doors, and the response we got for this. So that's all the page 1, that'll give you that. Page 2, we'll give you an idea how we're going to pay for it. Our director is currently salaried as the part-time recreation director. There's no additional funds for Emily's part of this. Our lead teacher is based on the $30 an hour Title I requirement. Our counselors we're working with here will be another budgeted item for getting the 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, a 40, 80-hour total. Transportation, big issue for us to address with this is getting kids around town. We contacted the bus contractors and then Emily, using her resources. Go ahead, Em. You can take that part, you're the one who did it.
Sure, my kids go to a charter school up in Conway. We have 4 vans that we use for transportation. They are willing to lease those to us for the last 2 weeks as well. So it works.
That's a great job.
Yeah.
Tin Mountain's also signed on with Dexter Harding, program fees for them, program fees that go to Advantage Kids. Our Advantage Kids program one time is free for all kids in New Hampshire in all of our programs. We have for the past couple of years had the outing club paying for our outdoor programs at the Brett School courts, and the school district with their school athletic funds paying for our indoor sessions in the winter and early spring at the Brett School. So that's just a continuation of what's already been approved there. We get some money for park admissions and fees, and kids are going to be required to bring their own lunches, but we would need to have some materials and supplies to be able to cover all the bases with that. Your funding source to make all these things happen is $2,800 from a line item in the school district budget for summer enrichment activities that hadn't been utilized yet. Title I budget was approved already for $66,610. Tamworth Recreation budget, we're looking for a contribution of $2,000 there, which seems to be available now that the Title I money has been applied to the Friday field trip programs. And then the outing club has already approved the $500 for Advantage Kids for the summer programming anyway. Before I go any further there, I guess I'd open up to questions and thoughts that you guys have and anything we haven't thought of yet.
Sounds like you're explaining it pretty thoroughly. You're ready for this.
Do we need a select board approval for the 2,000 if it's within your budget?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
We're just looking for an endorsement.
Yep.
And we did the same thing with the school board.
Yep.
Because these were already allocated funds in the school district budget. There was nothing new being added here. But just, we haven't gone out publicly with this yet, and hopefully do it tomorrow with, you're signing off on this today. We met with the school board last Thursday night.
The trickier piece that we might need your approval or input on is the fact that when Kent and I were talking about doing this, I said, I'm 20 hours rec, 20 hours assessing. That really means I could only be involved with this program on Mondays and Fridays. And he said that was fine, and we've been looking for other people to hire counselors. Well, those are proving hard to find. So, we might be in a situation where can I work full-time as a rec director for those 2 weeks and be the person on the ground, or does that stop us dead in the water if I can't?
We won't be dead in the water, because there are some retired teachers around
You can
somewhere.
Okay, well, we're
that
gonna
we
find
might
them.
tap on the shoulder
Anybody here?
and say,
Yeah,
Well, 2 weeks without an assessing clerk?
I think we would need to solve for that. I
Yeah.
don't think we can go 2 weeks without an
No,
assessment.
I don't either.
But we can talk about that. When does
this
this?
is only an 8-hour day, Emily. There are other hours in the day.
That's only a half day or a third of a day.
I mean, one of the things we've been doing is bringing in somebody to support assessing because of the issues of having enough time. And so I can research whether that person is available to do that. For at least a day or two a week, or, like one or two mornings.
Yeah, and this is the official announcement that we're looking for counselors, if
Yes.
anybody,
that's right.
because that would
Come-
solve the problem.
Come and talk to either one of us, we are beating the bushes around town, and we still got a few leads we're working on.
I guess the college kids go off to college, huh?
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah. What, how does the transportation work liability wise? Is
Yeah.
it run through Primex?
Yeah, it's
Yes.
one of the things on my to-do list is to make sure
Okay.
that's covered. And anybody approved to drive, which there would only be 3 or 4 drivers, just take a quick course. It's like
And
half
you have to
hour,
be 25
45
or older, right?
Yeah,
But,
yeah,
so it's just the vans that are available, not the drivers?
right.
Yeah, we're driving the van too.
Yeah. That's a great resource, though. That's
It's
a lot
awesome.
cheaper than renting
Oh,
buses,
yeah.
that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Usually what happens is Primex covers that if they take the course, so I imagine that would apply.
Right.
All right, so you'll see our to-do list on the next page, and we've got a few
Yeah.
things to done, and we can check off a few more to done tonight. And then the last page is sample schedule that Emily put together probably about
Yeah.
2 o'clock this morning. And she's really done a great job of mapping out how this is gonna work. We're gonna be moving some of these boxes around, but we've got so many things lined up. Literally, the first day is the Chicago Conservancy. We talked to Alex over there. Dexter's gonna meet us over there at the lake, and the kids are gonna have their Tin Mountain session on site at the Conservancy. Cook Library, Amy's all fired up to do activities with the kids here. Lou has given us the theater in the afternoon, and we talked to some of our local musicians who play at the bakery, and some of the bakery band people to step up to give the kids a little concert on the Barnstone stage. We're gonna have you can see it. It's gonna be a fun couple of weeks.
Lucky kids.
Um,
Awesome.
just a thought, when you're on the Barnstormers stage, if there's extra time, I don't know if Marion and Richard Posner would be available just to do some theatrical
Yeah.
activities.
Yeah,
They're great with this age group,
Yeah.
and they're not strangers to the Barnstormers, so,
great idea. Haven't talked to Richard yet. I know he's been working out at Bear Camp.
yeah, yep. And they just did so much
Awesome.
fun this week, so.
And one thing I would just point out is that overall, because Emily's been working 20 hours, not 40 for rec for some amount of time, overall, the budget is still okay.
Does, so, 2-week program. 2-week program, did kids have to sign up for both weeks to participate? Can they do 1 week and not the other?
It's free, they're gonna sign up, we're gonna see what we're gonna get. I
Okay.
can't put any requirement on it, it's
Yep.
free.
Yep.
And we're gonna see what we're gonna take, we're not gonna take more than 40.
Right,
If we have 25, 30, I think we'll have a big success.
Yeah.
If we have 25, 30, I think we'll all breathe a little easier. It'll be a little bit more manageable. But I think with the staffing and the plan and the capacity we've got here, 40 really is our top number.
sure, yeah. Looks great.
Yeah. I've consistently had 40 to 50 kids on our field trips, so it wouldn't, in this exact age range.
And
so.
that last 2 weeks is tight for parents to try to figure out what to do. I mean, some families go on vacations, but
Yeah.
people have to work, so
Yep.
that's,
Stupid question maybe, but I assume it's the same 40 or 50? It's not like 40 new kids show up?
No, I'm guessing.
We don't know.
Yeah,
I'm saying what you've experienced already.
it will likely be the
He
same.
means on the field trips.
field trips.
Each week, is it the same 40?
Oh, yes, yeah, I'm sorry, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
As long as it stays within your budget, then you don't need approval from us. And if it goes over budget, just let us know and we'll find a way to pay for it.
Okay, and thank you for being supportive of, if we can't find a counselor, we can shift accordingly.
We're gonna be fine,
Okay.
you know, but I've
He
said
knows
that
He
before.
keeps saying that, but I have a feeling.
We're gonna be fine.
Okay. Trust you.
Yeah.
It's amazing work, it's great. And that Ken, for stepping in, pulling together in a short time,
Yeah, thank you, Ken.
fantastic.
Do you have anything else for us tonight?
No.
Do we have any questions?
Can I go home?
Yes.
Yes,
Thank
you
you.
may. Great job.
For coming in tonight.
Thank you, guys.
This sounds
so
great.
much.
Fine.
Good luck with your vehicle.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Oh, can I just say, Ken, just one more thing, I see the top age is
Have fun
13.
tomorrow.
Yeah,
If there's any way to percolate, maybe bumping that up a little bit more to 15?
yeah.
If that's an age, that ninth, even 10th grade year is something parents have asked a lot about.
Okay,
I don't know if it can work in that dynamic, maybe something to look for next year, but
yeah.
that's like a dropped age
Well,
group.
And the next year plan, we've got some other partnerships to develop here as well.
Yeah.
So, all right, I'll get out of your way.
See you later.
All right, thanks, guys.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
See you, Ken.
All right, moving on to the Conservation Commission with Nelson O'Brien.
All right. They have a copy of the.
Yes, they
Yeah,
all
they just
received
sent
it,
you.
yeah.
Okay, reason for my asking to be on the agenda tonight was just to get your opinion on a potential conservation easement. And the reason I'm asking this is a rather unusual conservation easement as far as the Conservation Commission is concerned. And what has occurred is that Judith Reardon and Peter Smart, who are the sole trustees of Chicora Park LLC, asked if the town would be willing to accept an easement on the two parcels that the Chicora Park LLC owns in Chicora. And you have a copy of an aerial showing the two lots. One of them is 218.7 and the other one is 218.10 on either side of the Chicora River. And the unusual thing about these two is that it includes a dam, which I suspect all of you are aware of. and
It
know where
includes
they're
what? I'm sorry.
A dam.
coming. A dam.
Oh, a dam.
Yes, the dam on the Chicora River at that point is part of, I believe it's 218.7, but it may be both. But they have set this up as a park. It's used as a park now. It's quite nice. And they're looking to protect it sort of in perpetuity. And the reason I came for you tonight is that because this is an unusual one, I would like to get some input from the selectmen or select board as to whether you think this is something we should pursue. Because ultimately, it's you five sitting on the table here who are going to have to sign any potential conservation easement. And I don't want to go any further with this, any discussions, because once we start talking to attorneys, the meter runs pretty fast as far as dollars are concerned. And that's something the Conservation Commission would pick up, of course. Now, Judith and Peter have said, okay, we'll take the dam out of the equation by saying that any maintenance required on the dam is a responsibility of the LLC. Now, what I don't know is what they have done to make this LLC work after they are long gone. How, if somebody needs to work on the dam or do the lawn or whatever, how is that going to work? So that's an unknown for me and for you, of course, too. But I think you have the information there. I'll be glad to answer any questions, but I would like to hear your thoughts on what should happen here.
Nelson, so one question I have that you may or may not be able to answer right now, but that I'd want an answer for before signing off on this is, seems like there's a vast movement over the past 20 years or so in ecological circles to remove dams. And so I wonder if that dam, I know that it's got historic value and sentimental value and aesthetic value, but I wonder if as Fish and Game or whoever decides to maneuver dams have taken dams out of existence, if that's ever been considered for that dam, if we think it might be considered in the future, and if so, would we be in a position of having this document that's legally binding in perpetuity, working at odds with environmental best practice?
I don't know the answer to that. Peter does have an idea of making a micro hydroelectric facility there. That's all I know about it, because it's in the draft of a easement that Judith sent us, that was explicitly put in there. So he's obviously looking at that for that purpose. The dam is, of course, like all the ones in New Hampshire, inspected on, I think it's a 4-year cycle, and I don't know where it is in that cycle.
And
But-
typically, the dam removals are a result of FERC licensing, Federal Energy
Regulatory Commission.
Thank you. And I don't even know if this one has one, but it's worth looking into. And when the license is up, that's typically when the dams, the decision is made as to whether it's removed or not. And I wonder if dams that existed prior to FERC, maybe they don't have a FERC license, I don't even know.
I do not know.
Yeah,
The dam's been
Peter said
there
it's
for-
too small.
that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess I'm looking at less the hydro potential or value, or even any regulatory license, and thinking more about environmental
Right.
considerations. And I don't know if the Conservation Commission knows somebody who is an expert in those realms, or we could find out. It just seems like we're committing to keeping a structure in place for a long time.
Yes, even though
Well, I don't know
They're
if we
saying
are,
that-
the owner would be. We wouldn't be.
But
we wouldn't be.
the language says, the language that you shared in the letter mentioned that the dam would be, that part of the easement says that the dam is kept.
Yeah, well, it doesn't say so explicitly, but it says so in the fact that they're talking about the dam and that it's going to be there and it's going to be maintained by this LLC.
Okay.
So, you know, if you wanted, they also, like in any conservation easement, if you want to make some major changes, usually it's with the permission of whoever holds the easement. So if you wanted to take the dam out in the future, it would probably have to be an agreement between the LLC and whoever holds the easement. And the other thing that you can think about is, and I don't know what they have, is would they prefer to put some sort of covenant on the easement? But I guess what they're looking for is someone to oversee and make sure that the protection is kept, you know, if you, it's fine and good to have a easement, but if somebody's not looking at it and making sure that it's obeyed, they sometimes go by the way. Incidentally, the other little section on that corner is owned by the town. The one right at the corner of 16
Where
and.
the detention basin is, I was wondering. Okay.
Yeah, that's not, okay, that's
That
separate.
makes sense. Because the stormwater's going in there.
Right.
I mean, for me, in my part, I think it's too risky to take on with the dam and the legal matters that you have to go through to get it all taken care of. I don't see where the benefit to the town comes in to take on that risk.
Why did they ask the Conservation Commission rather than Green Mountain, for instance?
They did ask Shakura Lakes Conservancy.
Oh,
And I cannot answer why those discussions did not bear fruit. I have heard some things secondhand, and I'm certainly not going to repeat them here. Let's just say that they couldn't come to a meeting of the minds as to what should be in the easement. And this was something they actually asked the Conservation Commission back in 2019. We looked at it, and before we did much of anything, they said they wanted to wait. And that was in January of 2020. And now, just in the last few weeks, they wanted to reactivate any discussions with the town.
Yes.
Question. Isn't the issue how that property is taxed? And isn't at least part of the property taxed as if it's a commercial enterprise and not effectively a public park? So the owners have given it over as a public park, but they're paying as if it's the damn ice cream shop.
But that's a
And
different
is that
issue from an
fair?
easement. An easement doesn't impact your tax, your taxes.
It doesn't?
No.
No.
I also think I would,
So those are two, I mean, that very well might be true, but that's not part of
That's not what
this
he's asking.
presentation, yeah.
also it would have been reassessed without the building. We can check that, but I,
Since we don't have commercial zoning, it's a piece of land just like anywhere else. In a normal town that had zoning, you do it.
we
Well,
can,
hopefully they've been reassessed
Yeah.
since, because
Presumably.
both sides
That's
of
a
the
long time
river, there were
ago.
buildings that were
But
built.
the landowners, like Judith and Peter, can certainly come to the assessing office
Yeah.
and question their valuation if it hasn't been changed since the pretty dramatic changes in the past 15 years. But the easement doesn't impact the tax rate.
The 218.7, which is 1.5 acres, tax card has a parcel value of $55,000.
yes, there's no building.
I had written in my notes from our Conservation Commission meeting last time that this particular parcel doesn't meet many of the requirements for the easement. Is that still true?
Well, it is certainly true for what we, the Conservation Commission, normally considers requirements for an easement. We are normally looking at, tracts of forested land or agricultural. Those are the two main items that the Conservation Commission has looked at in the past and we have participated in. This would be something well outside anything we've ever done in the past, which is why I'm here. Because I don't want to go further and then have the select board say, well, wait a minute, I don't really like this.
Do you know of any other properties in town where it's a park that has an easement? Or not forested or agricultural?
I do not know. If it is, the town does not own the easement. carry it. Well, I'm not gonna stay here and take up any more of your time.
Okay.
So if any of you think of anything else that you'd like to add, please just give me a call or something. Ellen? Did you have something?
No, I'm sorry, I waved at Becky. So sorry.
So Nelson, just to be clear, so the future of the property would be, it would be owned in perpetuity by the LLC
Presumably,
and maintained by the LLC.
right.
And so it would stay in private ownership with a conservation easement, held by the town, by the
Yes.
Conservation Commission.
Can the LLC dissolve?
Yeah?
That's my concern. Is the LLC dissolved?
Well,
or stuck?
and you were bringing up the funding too, like, how does?
Yeah, is there an endowment for this? I don't know.
Yeah,
Because I know when there was a house there, my understanding is they couldn't sell the house because it came with a dam and nobody wanted to buy
That
it.
is precisely true. That's my understanding anyway.
well, I don't think the door is closed, I think that they're just questions, still,
Big ones.
yeah. So is that,
clarification and then come back.
yeah, so does the Conservation Commission then meet for another round with Judith and Peter and?
We'll try to get some answers to some of these questions.
Okay.
And their first easement draft back in 2019, I had run that by our attorney. She had a lot of questions. And so those need to be answered as well.
Okay. Well, keep us posted.
All right, well, thank you for your time and your input.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to the Economic Development Commission appointments. Do we need a motion for this, obviously?
Didn't we do this last week?
Yeah.
Last meeting?
Yeah, do we-
No, there was you appointed Greg as an alternate and Pat as a full member, and now
We
it
need
needs
to
to be
scroll.
split.
Okay.
So make a
Pat,
motion, we appoint
I thought
Pat
it must
Farley.
have gotten recorded wrong, because we
We knew she was.
knew she was retiring.
Yeah, this
so-
is what I asked for last meeting.
Yeah,
was
okay, well,
that
we'll
Pat.
do it again, because the record might not be right, but,
Maybe we voted on it, but I didn't have the appointment form, so.
so we're just doing the signature
So
file.
just-
We could just do
Yeah.
the signature file.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, because
Okay.
we voted, because we talked about Pat retiring and,
Okay.
So no motion.
I think
Pretty
we're
sure
done
the
with
motion
that.
was also.
Okay.
yeah.
Except to sign the form.
We will move on to the Energy Committee with Ellen Farnham and Ted Morgan.
Thank you. I'm acting on behalf of the committee in the absence of the chair, Gabrielle, who's somewhere out in California. And we have 4 asks for you. One, all 3 of us are delighted to ask you to appoint David Kunhart and John Kuhn as members of the committee. David, as you know, has been here several times. He's been a very, very expert counselor to us in our meetings. And both he and John have long professional experience that will be very helpful in our committee's work. So that is one thing we are asking you to do. I don't know if you want
Let's do it one at a time.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I make a motion to appoint John Kuhn and David Kuhnhart to the Energy Committee.
Second.
Any discussion or questions? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Did you say yes?
Barry, yes?
Schaefer, yes?
Prentice, yes?
Roberts, yes. 5 yes, 0 no.
One down.
Second, we are asking you to designate the Energy Committee as the, quote, Electric Aggregation Committee. The CPC, the Community Power Coalition of New Hampshire designation for the committee that they would interact with to provide information to us to help us develop a plan to bring to you later on.
So you're asking that we change the name?
No.
You're asking that
No,
the Energy.
Just to designate us as that committee to work with them.
Oh, I see.
Then we can
Yeah,
continue
yeah,
to
yeah,
develop
yeah.
plans and
Yeah.
help organize the public hearings that are required.
I make a motion that we designate the Tamworth Energy Committee as the electric aggregation committee.
Second.
Any discussion, questions? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Do you say yes?
Aaron, yes. Schaefer, yes.
Prentice, yes?
Roberts, yes. 5 yes, 0 no.
Third, we're asking you to authorize Keats, the town administrator, to work with town council to enter into a non-binding joint power agreement with CPC-NH, Community Power of New Hampshire, allowing us to join and have access to information from them and them to interact with us. That information could include updates, policy briefs, information about the organization, action alerts about legislation that might be helpful to the town as it tries to develop more modern energy ideas. And Keats has shared with us, I believe it was you that shared with us, the initial response of council to the plan. And we sent that or shared that with the head of the CPC-NH to get his response to the questions which the council asked. And he sent a document which I think you have, his
I
responses.
received it, but I figured you were presenting, so
Oh, okay, I mean, you're welcome to chime in too. In essence, the questions were about service cost, administrative costs, what happens when Tamworth exits a project, and project costs. And the responses made it quite clear that service cost and administrative costs are only applicable when we are in a contractual relationship with them, and they're built into the rates that the users will be paying. So there's nothing there for the town, and there's no cost here for just this joint power agreement relationship, sort of pre-contract relationship. Project costs refer to once we are in contract with them, assuming we would be, or if we would be. There might be large-scale projects, like somebody has a large solar project in which several towns can join with, and if you decided to join that, there would be costs related to that, which would be something you would decide in advance whether you wanted to do that. And it would be binding on the town to stick with that contractual relationship for the project. So you couldn't withdraw from a project you were contractually participating in. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
But right now, you're just asking to join this
This joint power.
powers agreement, which is
does not-
non-binding and has zero costs, right?
Exactly.
And it's still very much dependent on the vote of the public in March of
Or the
town
contract,
meeting,
yeah.
before
Yeah.
anything was finalized anyway. This is just the preliminary.
That lets you get us to that vote.
Yes, and one thing the aggregation committee would be doing would be helping out with public forums and that sort of thing on the way to bringing it to a vote.
Is there any reason that, I mean, is the reason you're asking that is because the decisions need to be made like right then and there, or is is there any reason they can't be brought to the board and then voted on? You're asking for Keats to,
I'm asking you to authorize Keats and council to enlist us in the joint powering agreement.
And there will be individual decisions made later on any contracts.
Any decisions they make would come
It's
to
not,
this
it's
level.
not going ahead with them for the power.
This is the thing we
It's just-
thought we did last time, but it's very prescriptive on how
Right.
Yeah.
they need
These sort
to
of
see
next
individual
steps to help
votes.
us get more information from
This is just
them.
letting us let Keats and giving them permission to work with Keats and the attorney to hash out the next step to bring to us
Okay.
before we make any decisions. Because they can't just deal with the town attorney on their
Yeah.
own yet.
Okay.
is there a motion?
Probably I would, yeah.
I make a motion.
I was just gonna say, so that's the cost associated with it though, is working with a town attorney, right?
Yeah, but I don't, but really, so I think there's sort of two things going on here, and correct me, I'm just very lightly read this stuff. The joint powers agreement with the Community Power Coalition, the question you're asking is, can the town become a member of that so that you can have access to information to understand what programs they have?
Right.
The next line is appoint representatives of the Community Power Coalition. And I think that's where it was me and Gabrielle
Right.
would be appointed.
That's our
So
fourth.
I'm
That's
sort
our
of pulling
fourth one.
apart these two things.
Exactly.
One is just so they can get educated, and the town needs to join it in order for them to have access to the info. So that's what's before you at the moment, right? Okay.
What type of cost is gonna be associated with this as far as
None.
legal?
No.
Oh, none. There's,
Because I think legal's already looked at it, so there's
legal's already
been a
looked at
couple
it, and
years
there's no
of-
additional, and she's not joining anything, so I think that was just,
Well, but eventually, there will be legal costs, because legal will vet it before it's on the warrant.
if you decided
To
to.
go that, when we get to that point, but it'll be like that kind of typical, here's a document,
Yeah.
is this okay? Kind of thing that this.
So are we looking to sign a joint powers agreement, or what's the verb we're looking for? You're looking
I
for
guess sign,
approval?
enter into the agreement.
Enter into.
Enter
Yeah.
into. Okay.
On a
And there's-
non-binding basis.
And there's, I think, 27 or 30 towns have
33.
already,
33.
33.
33.
So really, that is the organization, so we would be one of the towns working
Right.
with the other towns and their executives and
Yeah.
administrators.
And I think with our motion at the last meeting, I think we thought we had already done that, but it's,
But apparently, you guys received the 44-page document.
Right.
And because it was such a substantive document, I did send it to the lawyer.
yeah.
And she raised a few questions, and they were answered, they answered them.
I could leave you a copy of the answers.
Yeah,
I
and I
also
can
have
forward them
that
out. I
too.
mean,
That would
it's all basically saying there are no costs until you actually decide to do something.
Yep.
I'll make a motion that we enter into a joint powers agreement with Community Power Coalition.
Non-binding.
Okay, so,
Comma, non-binding.
okay, wait, what's the language? Made a motion to
Enter into
enter into the,
joint powers agreement with
okay. and
CP.
somebody throw
A
language.
non-binding
Non-binding.
agreement.
Non-binding agreement.
Comma, non-binding.
Thank you. Okay, second?
Second.
Roll call vote.
To say yes?
There, yes.
Schaefer, yes?
Prentice, yes.
Roberts, yes. 5 yes. 0 no. And anything else?
That's it?
One more, one more.
Sorry.
One more.
I was gonna say, I was like, I thought there was a
Last but not
fly.
I was eager to get
Now it
back
comes
for
to
dinner.
getting me and
Yes.
Gabrielle to do something.
So we ask you to appoint as the primary contact people for CPC and NH, sort of officially for Tamworth. Gabrielle, who's our chair, I was gonna say clerk, which is a favorite term. And Keats as the alternative, I guess is the title. Secondary, primary.
Alternate.
Is there a motion?
I make a motion to appoint Gabrielle Watson and Keats Meyer as representatives to the Community Power Coalition of New Hampshire.
Second.
Any discussion, questions? Hearing none, roll call vote.
To say yes?
There, yes.
Schaefer, yes?
Prentice, yes.
Roberts, yes. 5 yes. 0 no.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you very much for
Thanks
coming.
for
Could we
keeping
have
all this
one-
here. That's-
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
One more
Thank
quick
you.
question. I know Emily has more than enough on her plate, but at some point, could we do a little news article and have it be in the newsletter, the town newsletter, just about we're beginning this exploration of community
Yeah, I
power?
think if you email that to her, she can, it won't be hard for her to copy and paste it
Okay,
into.
great, we just
Yeah.
wanted to make sure
Send
that
a
was right.
picture.
You
Yeah.
should send it, you should send it to her and to the webmaster at the same time.
Will
It should
do.
go on.
Will do, here she is.
Because the only things in that
My
newsletter are
hero.
things that are on the town website.
Yeah, okay.
So send it to me and I'll.
I will, thank you, Becky. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you very much. Have a great night.
Bye-bye, thank you.
Will, thanks for all your hard work, select board.
Back at ya.
The select board approval for the transfer station operating and closing manuals, permit application and approval notice.
Was this,
You all received copies of the
Yeah.
manuals. The manuals were written by Willie Farnham and have been reviewed by Glenn and myself, and and,
This isn't just a signature file item, this is,
no, I think you need to approve
Oh,
them,
okay.
and then you sign the document
Okay.
in there.
all right.
Is there, do we just need a motion?
Motion to approve.
I make a motion, we approve the transfer station operating and closing manuals, permit application, and approval notice.
Second.
Any discussion? Questions, hearing none, roll call vote.
Who seconded? I'm sorry.
Carl did.
Carl did.
Carl.
Do you say yes?
There, yes.
Schaefer, yes.
Prentice, yes.
Roberts, yes. 5 yes, 0 no. Moving on to the
Logo vector file.
logo, I was like, is that
That's the thing.
logo vector file?
So if you recall, in
questioning that
June 1st meeting, y'all approved using the Chicago 250th amended as the logo for the town. So Lamb and Lion Studios I could not get the original artist to respond to me. So she can recreate that and turn it into a file that can then be any size. Big, small, flags, paper, whatever. And so it's a $900 cost to do that, and we will then have it in
We did that
perpetuity.
last meeting.
Not the cost.
I thought,
We just
Not
got
to
the
get it
notice.
I
back
remember
to
seeing a
us.
$900 cost
It
somewhere.
was in the prep file.
It was-
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay,
You did see it.
I did see it.
So it's, I can go on my budget line for professional services, and, I don't know if you need a motion to approve it since it's going into the budget line, but,
I don't think so.
okay. Just wanna make sure you knew it was there, and you'll be signing the contract in a few minutes.
Great.
And it's not adjusting it, it's just vectorizing the,
Well, it is, no,
She's gonna-
she's gonna give a few options
okay,
on
that's what I thought. from
what the
Because
rim,
the-
Yeah,
The
the
text
the
was-
font
Yeah.
and where
And
the
then we
text will
decide
be.
what we
you
want.
can choose which one,
Yeah.
Cool.
yeah.
Alright,
Vector.
Yeah, vectorizing for
That's a good
I
one.
was questioning when I saw the
Why?
word.
Exactly.
How long will go back?
I could do
I
that.
was gonna say,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go home and vectorize.
We can have a
Yikes.
party.
Okay, we're digressing.
Moving on to the Bear Camp Valley School and Children's Center raffle 30-day waiver. So is this just a motion for an approval?
It's a motion for approval and a request to waive the 30-day requirement because they got it in after the 30
Yeah.
days.
Oh, so it's within the next 30 days?
Yeah, it's,
Okay.
yeah.
I make a motion to, it's silly that we have a permit for raffle anyway, I feel, but
It's
maybe
a
there's,
state thing,
there's
I
a,
think.
State
there's
law.
probably a good
Yeah.
point for it, but.
I know, it does seem silly.
I make a motion to approve the Bear Camp Valley School and Children's Center raffle and the 30-day waiver.
Second.
Any discussion or questions? Hearing none, roll call vote.
You said yes?
There, yes.
Schaefer, yes.
Prentice, yes.
Roberts, yes. 5 yes, 0 no. Old business, maintenance vehicle discussion. I'm guessing that's why you're here, Rick.
You waited for all that. So we went to look at the ambulance and Rick,
Did you go?
I did not make it.
Didn't make it.
but Rick had a pretty clear view on it, which I asked him to come and share with you so that
Okay.
it's clear.
Yeah, honestly, I think it's a little too much. It's huge.
It's huge.
It's huge. And it's just not the right fit. I mean, I get the whole scheme of things, but it's ultimately not the right vehicle. I mean, I wish there was a place we could put it, but I think it's just too much for maintenance.
Okay.
Even if you were to tow a trailer behind it, it doesn't have a tow package, but you wouldn't see the trailer anyway. But, it'd be a good hideout, but you guys be banging on the windows looking for me all the time.
Party in the van. The fire department can still get their 7,500 back, so
Yeah.
that's not an issue.
Oh, they can?
Yep.
Oh, good.
And I was supposed to talk to Chief Littlefield about the
Cruiser.
the cruiser, and what I found out is two things. One, he said that it is registered under a registration that makes it a police vehicle. It still has the lights and whatever bells and whistles, sirens, in it. And that it also, without serious maintenance, is like, you maybe get a year out of it even if we took all those things out and changed the registration. But it's, doesn't seem like a viable option for that. So,
What are they gonna do with it?
right now, the,
Parking.
and the animal, and the parking guy use it.
So then, at some point,
And then sell it.
Yeah, I mean, are they only gonna use it for the next year, or are they gonna
they're
dump
gonna
the
sell it.
money into it?
It didn't sound like that, I don't wanna speak for him, it didn't sound like it was a good investment to put the money into it.
Okay.
But
We ought to have, I don't know if Richard sees, you ought to keep your eye out too, I mean,
It's,
the point is, we spend a lot.
yeah, I mean, with what we're spending in mileage, I do not think we're gonna save. And, I mean, I don't know how your feeling is about whether you'd like to have a vehicle from the town, or if you are okay with running your vehicle and getting the mileage for it. I don't know how you feel about that. But as far as the town standpoint, that $300 a month isn't gonna buy us fuel and maintenance, let alone buy a vehicle. That's my feeling. I mean, again, but I also don't think we should, have a position that necessarily has to use their vehicle, even though that was part of the agreement, I guess.
I mean, at this point, I don't have a problem.
Yeah.
But I think as
We
this,
should
as
work-
this grows.
We should work towards something.
Yes.
And we should, we should try to get a hand-me-down vehicle from another department. It
Yeah.
makes more sense my feeling is it makes more sense to get a good vehicle from another department. And sometimes,
Does the highway even have a pickup?
they usually run their trucks until they are
Yeah.
well
So,
done.
do we have a department that gives up good
There's
vehicles?
Yeah.
usually, I mean, not speaking for them, I'm just saying as a rule, the police and fire vehicles are usually gotten rid of when they're in much better condition than the highway
Than
vehicles.
highway.
There's a very different standard that goes along with having a police cruiser versus a vehicle for road maintenance or just general maintenance,
Yeah.
in my opinion. Not that there shouldn't be, because there obviously should be, because there's very different job descriptions. If the maintenance vehicle breaks down, not the end of the world. If a police cruiser or a fire vehicle breaks down, obviously that's a big deal.
Yeah.
So, that's my thinking on it. I think it'd be very tough for the town to, unless in the future we
The other part,
consider buying something, but that's,
it really seems like a pickup truck is the right vehicle for
Yeah.
that job.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
I don't know of any other pickup trucks in the town fleet.
yeah.
Well, Chief Colquitt had mentioned, and you might remember Keats, that municipal auction he talked about.
Yeah.
Where there are other towns
Yeah.
and, state vehicles where they auction off, that, obviously, anything like that has been serviced and has a record of service, probably high mileage too, but, I mean, that's what you're gonna find.
Yep.
But
Well-
it is something to look into.
So maybe one thing that you or Keats could do is just check out what a typical range for a vehicle that would suit your needs would be, because we'll have to plan for it in the budget.
I'd say roughly between 10 and 20,000.
For a used one.
You
For a
think
u-
so?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, for a used vehicle that's in,
Not great.
Yeah, that
You
would be
know.
an okay vehicle.
I mean, you start talking $20,000, and then you can get a decent four-wheel drive truck, but,
Yeah.
for a new vehicle, you're,
80,000.
well, 45 to 65.
For 20,000.
Yeah, we're looking at 20, 30 for
You
something.
say there aren't any used ones for 20?
No.
Maybe a pickup?
170,000 miles on a 214 Silverado right now in the marketplace is going for about 28,000.
Oh my God.
Because the price of new vehicles have gone up so high.
Yeah.
But the auction site for the state of New Hampshire is a good place to look.
I've been to that auction a few times.
You
And
know,
maybe-
There's some real junk, but then occasionally you can see some.
Yeah, but like you say, those were pretty much taken care of.
Yeah.
And the other consideration maybe we think about is like with the highway department, whether it's a pickup or maybe a 1-ton truck, maybe they let something go a few years earlier than they normally would have. You know, maybe it would, and maybe, you know, and
They get a new one.
they re-up.
They get the new one.
Yeah, maybe that makes more sense because they're going to use it more for a necessity plowing, and not that you're not, but you know, maybe that's an option too.
Yeah.
Definitely something we need to start thinking about.
Yeah.
But at the moment, you know, I'm fine
Okay.
with it
Yeah.
until somebody isn't, you know.
I guess the question I would have is, should it go in the CIP?
Yeah.
The maintenance vehicle?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because right now it's not, but I
Yeah.
We
can,
could also consider getting a vehicle directly for maintenance.
that would last many, many years. But, a lot of money.
Everything is.
It's not gonna get much cheaper.
We could get you an electric
If
truck,
I were
we
to
have
put-
grants right now for it.
Yeah, I know.
Can we get electric and get it grant
I don't know
for it?
if they're, I don't know.
Yeah,
Even if you get a good grant, they're $90,000.
you have to be careful buying electric pickups because the new Ford electric pickup, if you put
Mm-hmm.
2 lawnmowers in it, you're over gross weight because the batteries weigh so much.
So
So
much,
they're real cheap right now because they're finding out that they can't
Yeah.
tow and everything with them
Gross
because their
vehicle weight.
batteries weigh so much that anything that goes in the bed puts them over gross weight.
Oh, wow.
Maybe there's some ironing out before we go that route.
Yeah.
Kind of money, yeah. So how much money should I ask Kathy to?
Let me
I
look
think maybe
at something.
this
Let
might
me
be
look
a
at,
conversation too with Rick and Richard to have. I mean, Richard is, you know, obviously you two could figure out what you think would be fitting for a vehicle. I mean, you know what you need, but
Yeah.
you know, I know like the pickup that he has might something like along those lines might
That's
be
perfect. I mean,
sufficient.
Yeah.
So maybe
Okay.
you guys could kind of figure out what you think cost-wise that would look like, and then come back to us and say, hey, this is kind of what we're thinking, and then we could see when we're gonna shoot for those stars.
Okay.
So
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
good plan.
You know, narrow it down a little better for you.
yep, yeah.
Good.
And I don't know if it may be something, I know you don't plow, but maybe it's something that we consider setting up for a plow.
I
And then
had
the
that
highway,
discussion too, and that if you're
With-
gonna go that far, you might as well kick the field goal, you know,
Yeah,
because
and-
it's only gonna take pressure off of those guys as well.
yeah, maybe it's another backup vehicle for the highway department.
Right.
Or you could help them if they were shorthanded or a vehicle broke
Exactly.
down or something. So,
Mm.
yeah, that's something to consider as well. But yeah, maybe talk with Richard and get an idea what that would look like cost-wise, and then come
Okay.
back to us, so. All right,
Perfect.
Thanks,
anything
Rick.
else you wanna run by us while you're here? Good. All right.
No,
All right.
Unless you
Thank
have
you.
anything for me, huh? I'm good.
Thanks, Richard.
So, thank you.
All right.
Moving on to the administrator report.
The bank balance is $4,542,004. It was a very busy week in the general assistance department. Kath was not in town yesterday. I must have spent at least 4 hours fielding and talking and trying to help a couple of people with certain things. Emily's been busy. She has managed to keep up with assessing, but it's a lot. So I'm glad we decided to post those 2 positions. See you, Rick.
Good night.
Have a good night.
And, you know, everything just keeps moving along. Lovely.
Awesome. Moving on to the signature file. Make a motion to approve the select board meeting minutes for July 13th, 2023.
Second.
Roll call vote.
You say yes? There, yes.
Schaefer.
Prentice, yes.
Roberts, yes. 5 yes. 0 no. Make a motion to approve the non-public meeting minutes for July 13th, 2023, session 1 under RSA 91-A:3 2A. As well as July 13th, 2023, or session 2, RSA 91-A:32A and section 3 under RSA 91-A:32E.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Abstain?
Barry, yes. Schaefer, yes.
Prentice, yes.
Roberts, yes. 4 yes with 1 abstention. I make a motion to approve the, I make a motion to approve the driveway application permit for map 212, lot 21, sublot 8, as well as map 414, lot 15.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Doucette, yes?
Barry, yes. Schaefer, yes.
Prentice, yes.
Roberts, yes. 5 yes, 0 1. 0 no. Jeez. Oh, I'm losing it. It's a long day. I make a motion to approve the PA-16 application for reimbursement to towns where federal and state land is situated.
Second.
I just looked for that, and I didn't see the paper in there. What is that?
It should be, you mean in the signature file?
Yeah, what is it?
It's, every year you basically give the state a list of
the.
the acreage you have that are federal or state owned.
Uh-huh.
And we get not very much money, but it's a reimbursement.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure it's in there.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Doucette, yes?
Barry, yes. Schaefer, yes.
Prentice, yes.
Roberts, yes. 5 yes, 0 no. I make a motion to approve the barn easement agreement for map 406, lot 15, map 407, lot 84, and map 401, lot 8.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Doucette, yes?
Barry, yes. Schaefer, yes.
Prentice, yes.
Roberts, yes. 5 yes, 0 no. I make a motion to approve the yield on timber cut for map 414, lot 36, in the amount of $2,788.00.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Doucette, yes?
Barry, yes. Schaefer, yes.
Prentice, yes.
Roberts, yes. 5 yes, 0 no.
Those are all signatures.
Those are done. Here I am. Yep, there we are. I make a motion to approve the payroll manifest for the amount of $45,853.96.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Doucette, yes?
Barry, yes. Schaefer, yes.
Prentice, yes.
Roberts, yes. 5 yes, 0 no. I make a motion to approve the accounts payable in the amount of $419,553.07, as well as the accounts payable in the amount of $462.00.
You know what I'm gonna ask, right?
Yep.
Second. He second.
There's a sticky note.
No, you just passed it. It's right under this one.
Oh, there it is. No.
Oh, no, that's not
No,
there.
those are,
Yeah, back.
Oh,
Right?
there, yeah, it's right there.
I'm getting there.
It's sticking out everywhere.
The school is $275,000. The bridge is $58,000, and I'm assuming that's the Scott Bridge. Teaser.
T-SIG. That is for
So
the consultants, 21,000, for the improvement project at the transfer station.
For the transfer station improvement project, $21,000,
And then what's that one?
and
You can't read it either? Oh my gosh.
12,000.
hold on, I found it. 1 second. Give me 1 second.
12, here, I'll probably find it faster. 12,000.
Same school. Oh. Nope. Oh, my flipping past them. There we go.
Here, let me find it, you guys can
Okay.
keep talking.
Give me 1 second.
You can keep going, I'll just.
Yep. So the cash used to date, excuse me.
Bless you.
The cash used to date is $6,732,200. $264.61.
But didn't you guys make out a check 2 weeks ago for the school department, was 200 and something thousand?
$275,000.
You pay that every other week?
Yes.
School board is.
Darn kids.
Normally when we had meetings every week, you didn't notice it because it was every other meeting.
Okay.
Right now it's every meeting because we've been meeting every other week.
Okay.
I think
And
that's
the rest of the balance that we can't,
There's 12,000 for which we're looking for.
Yeah, I mean, that's just another one of the large payments. You're welcome to look through this if you like. It's all the checks. It's public information.
thank you.
You're welcome.
So we gotta vote on that. Roll call vote.
Did you say yes?
Barry, yes?
Schaefer, yes?
French, yes.
Roberts, yes. 5 yes. 0 no. I'm gonna move on to select board update with Richard.
Oh, hauling.
Hauling.
Transfer station hauling.
Transfer station.
Transfer station was the
Right after.
12,000.
Thank you.
On July 17th, the energy audit of this building was completed. So it was July 17th. That was funded 75% from a grant from a state agency, Community Development Finance Authority, 25% local match funded by the Tamworth Foundation. And they'll be issuing a report in a few weeks to describe what they found and how we can then, if we choose to implement improvements to improve the energy efficiency of the building. That was overseen by the Energy Committee, and the chair, who I'm married to, wanted to make sure that we were aware that Rick's involvement in it was crucial. His knowledge of how the building works was impressive, considering he hasn't been here that long in this job. But they did a blower test on the doors. Well, I had to take the doors off, I guess, to do the blower test. But just knowing how all the systems work was very valuable for the contractor who did the energy audit. July 17th through the 19th, the borings are done at the transfer station to look at the soil and depth of bedrock, etc. at the transfer station. And Sanborn Head now has the results of that. My understanding is that they're good. That's a very short overview of it. And they'll be issuing a report to us next week, so we can really see what the borings told us. I reached out to the EPA and heard back from them on July 19th to find out when they think they're going to make awards for their solid waste recycling facility. And they're looking at the next few weeks, and that was a week ago. Okay. So we might know in a couple of weeks if we got the EPA grant for the transfer station. I also asked today Northern Borders Regional Commission what their grant awards were looking like, and they said it's looking like mid to late August, so that will come later. On July 24th, which I think was Monday of this week, I met with Carl and the architect from Alva Architects to look at the townhouse fire escape. So he looked at the building, took a whole bunch of measurements. A couple of members of the townhouse, friends of the townhouse were there, so he's gathering a lot of information to look at the design of the fire escape. The one thing that I thought was interesting was, that I hadn't thought of was, it might be worth it to make the landing a little bigger and maybe the stairs a little wider, because if somebody, if there's an emergency needs to be carried out of the building, that's where they'll go. Because trying to get down the inside stairs would be almost impossible, so they're probably going to carry somebody out that. So to have a little more room to get a stretcher out without having to go vertical, you need a bigger landing. So I hadn't thought of that. And we talked about should it be in the same orientation or switch it around, what's the pros and cons of metal versus wood, enclosed or not, etc., etc. So it was a good discussion. And July 26th, I attended a sanitary commission meeting and nothing big to report there. So that's all I got.
The only meeting I went to, well, besides the townhouse, was I didn't go. It was a sewer commission meeting, which I skipped, but I got the minutes from. And so the New Hampshire DES has a new administrator for the underground disposal systems. So they're now dealing with a new person there, but they really feel that at this point they need to have a sit down with that person rather than just emailing back and forth. So a couple of the members are going to probably go to Concord, but they haven't been able to get a date yet. They've been one of the things that DES wanted was an accurate plan of the system, which we've never owned.
So an as-built.
An as-built, right. The contractor that built the system left on bad terms and never supplied it. But the engineering firm, the commission did contact the engineering firm, and they're going to send one that was from a couple of years after it was built. So it seems like it must be possibly more accurate. Anyway,
So somebody developed a plan after it was installed?
Well,
was it a different firm than did the design and install?
No, that was the same. Well, the install was a excavation contractor,
Yep.
and the design was an engineering firm.
So when it got approved on the
Well,
design and not the as-built?
It's
That's what's got the state stamp on it?
seems to be.
Interesting.
I mean, yeah, I won't say any more about that.
So I'm curious, the plan that we're getting, who did that?
Well, the people that drew the plans
Okay.
initially.
Okay.
But the trouble is, we don't know that
How accurate?
you know, when you look at the plans and you get to a huge section of bedrock and you decide, well, it'd be a lot easier to put that tank
So
over
field
here.
changes, yeah.
So some of the tanks and pipes might not be exactly where they are. I think what DES was asking for was for us to send a camera down on every pipe, and
Mm-hmm.
so they'd know exactly where it was.
Mm-hmm.
But
But maybe this will
we'll see
suffice.
what this,
We'll see what
we'll
they
see
say
what
on
this
this.
set of plans looks like. You know, there's been a lot of talk about water meters because DES likes water meter readings, and it turns out Lakes Region Water is required to install meters on their customers within the next so many years, 4 or 5 years, I think. And so now the sewer commission is in discussions with Lakes Region Water to see if they can
speed that up.
Speed that up, exactly, and be involved so that it works out for both. But they are continuing to read the effluent meter, which is, as usual, reading about 10% of capacity on the system. And they're following up with any applicants for change of use permits to make sure they know exactly what the plans are for the various buildings that have applications in. And that's all I have.
Boring?
I just have to thank Emery for going to planning board last night.
It's on to me.
On you.
So I talked to Richard Roberts the other day, and they shut down Page Hill Road for 2 days to upgrade some of the culverts where they had issues in the, I'm going to say the May 1st storm, but I'm not sure if it was the last day of April or the first day of May, but the rainstorm that washed out the edge of Page Hill, they dramatically increased the size of the culverts. And a lot of them were either concrete or there was a couple 12-inch steel culverts that have been replaced. So hopefully the plastic culverts will outlast anybody living today. Knock on wood. We don't know because they haven't been out that long, but they are plastic, so they shouldn't rot. And he said that it'll have to be closed for one more day at some point. I don't know how soon that'll be. It didn't sound like in the next week or two, but I'm not 100%. To do a little bit of finish up work. He just said that it's so much faster and more efficient to do it with the road closed than keep the road open. And there's a very easy way to get around, which is easy for people that know, but I guess it was a struggle for people with GPS.
Really?
That's what he said.
GPS sends them all over Page Hill.
Yeah.
Should instantly detour around.
Well, it's not maybe closed on GPS, so it was
Yeah.
tough for them to, even though you could just zoom out and see where you're going. But anyway, so that was that, and then I went to the planning board meeting last night. It was the first planning board meeting I've attended, which was pretty informational. Couple discussions on subdivisions. Not too much to report from that. Yeah, I guess that's kind of it for my report. So, with that being said, is there any public input? Yes.
I just came over, I had talked to Select Board Doucette a few weeks ago regarding the personnel policy manual. And I had explained to him that we did not have this part-time issue. It was called modified full-time people. Modified full-time employment for the two people that were getting, well, three, that were getting benefits because they were scheduled to work 32 hours. Once they left, and it wasn't 218, it was in 220, and we had the MRI administrator in here, he said there's no such thing as modified full-time. There isn't. So he suggested that you either define full-time as 32 to 40 hours, or whatever. We never got that far. But it was modified full-time employment. It was based on two people collecting New Hampshire retirement. They wanted to give them something. And the town paid 80%. They paid 20% of all their benefits. They got 80% holiday, 80% vacation and stuff like that. So it was 32 hours, period. Nothing less than 32. And one person that was still here tonight before he went full-time was the other one that they hired that way. And that ended in 220. I also spoke to him about vacation time for regular vacations because we had changed it and I had tried to change it to reflect what we were doing before I left because we found that offering 1 week's vacation once a year did not work. So we went to the 1 week after 90-day good evaluation and a second week after your 6-month eval, so people were getting 2 weeks beginning evaluation. Since our policy wasn't written that way, everybody got a letter of agreement so that it kept it kosher when somebody came back and said, you didn't follow your policy. No, we gave them a letter of agreement because we hadn't had time to change the policy.
Okay, that makes sense.
So 90 days.
So it was, if you had a good 90-day evaluation, you had 1 week's vacation available to you. And this came about because of the police department, because as they said, police officers work a lot, they're stressed, they're faced, and he felt that going, because they're on probation for a year, so he felt that going, 6 months to get a week was a little, so we went with after 90 days, if it was good for them, then it's good for the whole town, so we went after 90 days, they got a week's vacation, and then after their 6th month, they had their second week given to them. So an employee that worked a year now got 2 weeks instead of working an entire year and getting only a week's vacation.
So you did that in letters of agreement and you didn't have time to change it? in the
Well, we
policy?
tried, remember, I brought it to the new board, but you said you were gonna take the whole personnel manual and
Right.
look at it, so that's why we
Yeah.
never changed just the vacation time in the personnel manual. But I did want people to know that that was a modified full-time employment, and it was an MRI administrator that we had in temporarily when everybody got sick and left. And he said there's no such thing as modified full-time, you'd be better off to say your full-time is considered 32 hours to 40,
So that's where
and
that
then you
number
have
came
part-timers. So that's where the benefits came in.
And that's where 32 came into it.
That's right, that's where the benefits
Yeah.
came in, and that was boards before us, and
Yeah.
we changed that in 220, saying no more modified full-time, because it's non-existent.
Yeah. Yeah.
So did we sort of invented that word or?
Yes, the
Okay.
town invented that word as modified
Yeah.
full-time. because they didn't want to confuse it with the part-timers. So they named it modified full-time, and you had to work 32 hours.
But now the attorney's telling us that 34 is the threshold for full-time. So that's why we
Well, that's what,
modified.
right, so that's why they did it that way, but that's what that, he had been a town manager and administrator all across the state, and he said there is no such thing as a modified full-time. You either set what your full-time ratio is, 32 to 40, or you don't. And so we got rid of it because it was too confusing. And there were only a certain small amount as they petered out, other than the one that we had until he took the job he's got now.
Yeah.
So we took it out.
Well,
so
that
people-
explains, because we were trying to figure out how that happened, so.
That's
yeah.
how it happens.
Thank you.
That's a story behind everything.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Is there any other public input?
I was here to set up a payment plan, I'm not sure if I do that.
Oh,
And
you
we'll
can wait.
we'll have a non-public.
Yeah.
Okay, cool, thanks.
Thank you.
All right.
All right.
We do just have one other question. The webpage, we're trying to clean it up, if you don't mind, Keith. I've been asked to put the newsletter on too, but we're getting a little full on tabs, and you can't really build I will try. I want permission, Keith and I have discussed about taking off the slideshow, because nobody looks at the slideshow. We haven't had anybody look at it, and I don't think there's been a new picture put on it since 2/18.
Didn't even know we had one.
Okay.
I would take it
So
up.
we'll put the
That'd be
newsletter
nice.
tab on the on the left-hand side, so it's clickable.
That would be nice.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I do have one thing to add. Nobody's yelling at each other, it doesn't feel right.
Well, that's wonderful. Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so now the first non-public is with Kim, quickly.
Yeah, so.
And so, and I assume you're James, right? And tell me how you say your last name?
Holzrichter.
Holzrichter.
So non-public, so we're gonna close the public part of the meeting. Everybody will leave the room, and we'll call you in so you can have privacy for your conversation with us.
Keith, okay.
Oh, thank you, okay.
Thank you. So,
And it will be
a
quick.
motion to
You
go
gotta
in.
make a motion to go into
Yeah.
non-public.
I make a motion to go into non-public under RSA 91-A:32C, Session 1 at 7:59
59.
and RSA 91-A:32C, Session 2 at 7:59 p.m.
Wait a second.
RSA 91-A:32E, Session 3, continuation.
It's
Yeah.
good,
No.
from our non-meeting.
It wasn't a continuation,
That's
that
right.
wasn't
No, I'm s-
non-public.
Okay.
No, I'm saying continuation.
Of the
we're-
discussion.
Continuation of discussion, yeah. It's a new
Not a
non-public.
continuation, it's a
Not a
non-public.
continuation, yeah.
Roll call vote.
Did you say yes?
Mayor, yes. Schaefer, yes.
Prentice, yes, sorry.
Roberts, yes. 5 yes, 0 no. We're now non-public at 7:51 p.m.
Okay.
Just
Yeah, for big bucks.
probably not affordable.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably not comparative.
Ready?
It's 8:18.
I make a motion to come out of non-public at 8:18 p.m.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Did you say yes?
There, yes.
Schaefer, yes.
Prentice, yes.
Roberts, yes. 5 yes, 0 no. Minutes are not sealed. We are out of non-public at 8:19 p.m.
Meeting.
Meeting adjourned. I didn't have a gavel, it was too far away.
Okay, that was not as long as I thought it was gonna be.
No, you're on.